Federal Commission
y
of
que nos
Electricity, and that
está
is
permitiendo
permitting
incrementar
us to
el
implement
volumen
the volume
de la energía
of
que
energy
se produce.
that is produced.
Hay cosas que
There are things
no
that
se saben
are not known yet,
y es importante
and it is important
informar.
to inform.
El día de ayer
As of
hablamos de
yesterday,
cómo
we talked about how
en el tiempo que llevamos
that in the time that we've been in office,
se ha ido mejorando
things have been becoming better.
la producción
The production
de combustibles,
of
de gasolina,
combustibles,
de diésel,
gasoline, diesel,
por la atención, el mantenimiento
due to the attention
a
and
las
management
refinerías.
to the 6 refineries.
Eso es importante,
This is very important,
es que estemos produciendo más
that we be
gasolina.
producing more gasoline.
Y lo mismo
And the same
en el caso
in the case of
de la industria
the
eléctrica.
electric
Entonces
industry.
le pedimos
So we ask you,
al ingeniero Carlos
or we
Andrés
ask
Morales Mar,
the
es el
engineer
director corporativo
Andres Manuel Mar, he's the
de operaciones de la
operations
Comisión Federal de
officer of the Federal
que nos
Electric
explique
Company.
qué se está haciendo, qué
So
se ha
he should
logrado.
explain to us what is happening, what's being done, what's been gained in this
Si
matter.
les parece, para
If you wouldn't mind, or if it doesn't bother you,
tener el antecedente,
so that
contextualizar,
we can contextualize.
empezamos con lo de las gasolinas,
We'll
de
start with the
nuevo,
gasoline,
y luego vemos
and then
lo de
we'll
energía
deal with the
eléctrica
electric energy,
para que se pueda
in order that we
tener la
can
idea
have an
en
idea
conjunto
in
del programa de
conjunction with the
mantenimiento
management plan
el sector energético
and
nacional.
in the energy
Entonces,
sector
nada más es
nationally.
regresar a ver si tienen por ahí las láminas de ayer.
So he wants to know if they have the slides from yesterday,
O empezamos con el ingeniero
so or we could start with the engineer, and then we could do the slides.
A ver, pues esto tiene que ver con la producción de gasolina.
This has to do
Básicamente,
with the production of
de
gasoline.
cuánto se está procesando
Basically, how much is
de
being
petróleo
processed of
las
petroleum
refinerías.
in the refineries.
cuál ha sido el comportamiento, cómo va
What has been the behavior,
recuperándose
how
la
it's been
producción,
recovering
cómo se
production,
cayó,
how it fell,
cómo la recibimos
how we received it,
y cómo ha ido incrementándose el
and how
volumen
the volume has of production has been incrementing
combustible.
of
A ver, la siguiente
combustibles. So the next thing,
es gasolina,
that's gasoline,
producción de gasolina,
the production of gasolines.
este es diésel,
This is diesel,
turbocina.
turbocine.
A ver,
So let's see,
porque regresamos, vemos primero gasolina, ¿entiendes?
because we return and we can see gasolines first.
Ahora sí diésel
So now diesel
y turbocina, que es
and
esta que se ha
turbocine,
mantenido
which is
igual.
the one that's been maintained about the same.
Esto es,
So this is,
no tenemos
or we don't have
refinerías
refineries,
nuevas.
new
Es
ones yet.
el mantenimiento o es producto del
This is
mantenimiento
the product of
de
maintenance
refinerías existentes
of the existing
que
refineries
estaban abandonadas
that had been
y que ahora
abandoned and that are
se está
now
dando mantenimiento
are being
y
maintained
están
and are
operando a
operational
más capacidad.
to more
Bueno, lo
capacity
mismo
or increased
se está
capacity.
haciendo en el caso, repito, de la
The
Comisión
same
Federal de Electricidad.
It's also being done in the Federal Electricity Commission.
Morales Mar.
So now we're going to give the, let him talk, Morales Mar.
Muchas gracias, presidente.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Vamos a presentarles
today we're going to
lo que
present
es la generación
what is the
que
generation
tiene Comisión Federal de Electricidad
that
en
the
su
Federal
parque
Commission
de
has in its
generación.
generation park.
Cuenta con 42,000 megawatts
It counts
instalados
with
con todas las
42,000 megawatts,
tecnologías.
and it counts on all technologies.
En la siguiente tabla podrán ustedes ver
In the next
que
slide, you can
tenemos
see
hidroeléctricas,
that
60
we have
centrales y
electric
167 unidades
and
generadoras.
167 units.
Y así todas las demás tecnologías,
And the
hasta
same with all
llegar
the
a un
other
total
technical
de 157 plantas
technologies
y 469 unidades generadoras.
and
Con este antecedente,
the numbers are there.
nosotros queremos llegar a que, dando el mantenimiento
So
y la
what we're trying to show
rehabilitación de
is that
estas
if you have the management and rehabilitation of these central areas
desde hace algunos años
that have
en
been
una fase
had been
de
for many
franco
years in
deterioro
of frank deterioration
deliberado.
that was degenerative.
La recuperación de esa capacidad
The recovery of that
después del
capacity
diagnóstico,
after that diagnostic,
vimos que era posible.
we saw that it was possible.
Entonces nos dimos a la tarea
So then we took
de
the
poder llevar a cabo
job of trying
los
to take
mantenimientos
forth the
y las
maintenance
rehabilitaciones
and
a
rehabilitation
todo el
of
parque de
all
generación
this
de Comisión Federal de
generation
Electricidad.
of commission
En la
of
gráfica, lo que podemos
electric, the Federal
ver
Electric
es el
Company.
mantenimiento programado
So what we can do is the
que
program
en
maintenance
conciliación con el
that
Centro Nacional de Control de Energía
in reconciliation with the Department of Energy, that these maintenances
respetando lo que son
respecting
las demandas.
our demands
Regularmente estas demandas
that
máximas
normally
durante la ventana de verano.
would be worse during the
Entonces, vimos todo ese
time
mantenimiento
of summer.
y
So we
estamos
have been doing all this
en la
maintenance,
ventana de verano
and we're now in
y
the window
posteriormente al
of
salir de ella vamos
summer.
otra vez a incrementar
And
el
so
mantenimiento
again, we're going to increase the
cuando
maintenance
se reduce
when
precisamente las necesidades de
the
energía.
needs of energy have been reduced.
Quiere decir
So what we're trying to
que
say
le dimos mantenimiento
is
a
that we gave
596
maintenance
programados
to
y la
596
ejecución de estos
programs,
mantenimientos
and the execution of these maintenances have permitted us to recover 42,017. So they've recovered 10.84% altogether. This recovery was 10.84% during this time. So this type of things have permitted us in the next slide. This is the slide that shows demand on the graphics. Compared to what happened in 2018, the bottom line, the green one, is where we have the minimum of reserve, operational reserve, that we need to have to give uninterrupted energy. And last year, we had approximately one whole week where we were below that minimum. And this year, due to the recovery that we've had, we can show that even though there was an increase in demand, we were able to observe that the green line is the one that signals the demand, minimum demand, and the operational reserve in 2020 megabytes. So that recovery allows us to not lose the continuity of service for our users. So finally, we can observe with these graphs that the maintenance and rehabilitation was possible, and that way we could conserve what is the generation of, and the degeneration of the Commission of Electricity by using the minimum operational limits. So then he said, thank you. So in essence, it is
de que se está
that they
dando
we are
mantenimiento
giving this
a las
maintenance
plantas
to the
y
to the
esto
power plants,
significa un ahorro.
and this
Es muy
signifies a
contrario
savings, which is
este
contrary,
proceder
this
a
occurrence,
lo que se venía haciendo.
to what used to be
El
happening.
propósito
The purpose
era
was or is,
quitarle capacidad
they were
de
trying to
generación
take away the capacity of
de
generation
energía
of
eléctrica
electric
a la
energy
Comisión Federal de Electricidad.
to the Federal Commission of
Y en vez de darle
Electricity.
mantenimiento
So instead of giving
a
it
las
maintenance to these power
las
plants,
iban abandonando.
they were abandoning
Por
them.
eso utilizó el
So
ingeniero,
that
supongo,
that's why they utilized the engineer,
de que lo hacían
that they
de
used to
forma
do it
deliberada
deliberately
para
in order to,
que la Comisión
so that
Federal
the Federal Commission
fuese perdiendo su
could
capacidad
lose its capacity,
productiva
productive
y se
capacity, and then they
sustituyera
could substitute it
con
with
la participación
the
de
participation
empresas
of
particulares.
private companies. So they were trying to privatize it in the market,
Se fuese
Uh,
quedando
so that the market
básicamente
becoming basically
en manos
in hands
de las empresas
of
particulares.
these private companies.
Ahora la política
So now the politics is
es fortalecer la
to
Comisión
strengthen the
Federal de
Federal
Electricidad.
Commission of Electricity.
Es otra
This is
política.
a new politics, a different one.
Y
And
ya se inició.
now it's been initiated.
Hay actualmente una proporción
There's actually a proportion
que se avanzó
that
bastante
has advanced very much,
en lo que
whereas
se llama privatización
privatization
o
or
participación del sector
participation
privado
of the private
en la
sector
industria eléctrica
in the electric industry.
y desde el gobierno de Salinas
And since the government of Salinas de Gortari,
una ley secundaria
they created a secondary law
desde 1900
since 1989,
y se empezaron a dar
and he
concesiones
started to
a
give
empresas
concessions
particulares
to these
para
private
crear
companies
energía,
to
cosa que
generate
no
energy.
sucedía,
So
hasta entonces
so that's when it started.
era la Comisión Federal
It was
la
the
que
Federal Commission
abastecía,
that used to give
la que distribuía
uh,
la energía
energy to
eléctrica.
everybody before
A
that.
partir de esa
And as of that
actualización a
time,
una ley secundaria,
that secondary law,
se continuó
so they continued
con
to
las reformas
do that reform.
y ahora
And now,
el 46%
46%
de la energía
of the energy
que se consume en
that
el
is
país,
consumed in the country
la distribuyen, la venden
has been sold and distributed by private companies.
y la Comisión
And,
Federal
and the Federal Commission
está generando
is
el
generating
54%.
54% now.
Esa es
That,
la proporción.
that's the proportion at this time.
Nosotros
actually.
vamos
So we're going
a mantener
to maintain
esa proporción
this proportion
hasta el final
till the end
del gobierno,
of this government.
porque la tendencia
Because the tendency was
a que cada vez
that every time
participara menos
they,
en el
they,
mercado,
they were the Federal Commission was participating less and less.
continuaba la tendencia,
And if the tendency had
es
continued,
decir, con la entrega de permisos
as they were giving away these permits
a particulares,
to particulars,
sin apoyar a la Comisión
with
Federal de
supporting
Electricidad,
the Electric Federal
con
Commission
recursos, con presupuesto,
with funds,
íbamos a terminar este año
we
con
would
una proporción
we would
de
wind up
75,
with a 75
25.
to 25%.
Es decir,
That is to say,
25
25%
sector privado,
would be the private sector.
75 sector privado
75, I'm
y
sorry,
25
75
sector público.
was the private,
Esto
and then 25 was the public.
lo analizamos y se
So
consideró
we
que era
analyzed it
conveniente
and we decided it was
porque
convenient
tenemos el compromiso
because
que
we
vamos
have
a
the
cumplir
commitment to
de
comply,
garantizar que no
to
aumente
guarantee that the
el
prices
precio
of
de la
electricity
energía eléctrica.
and electric
Y,
energy not increase.
Eh, está demostrado
And it has been
que todo
demonstrated
este proceso
that this
de
whole
desplazamiento
process of
de la Comisión Federal de
uh,
Electricidad
dis-
llevó
like destruction of the Federal Commission of Electricity, it caused if electricity was increasing constantly.
Entonces necesitamos
So therefore,
garantizar
we need to
a
guarantee
consumidores,
to the consumers
incluso a las empresas,
and even to the
que no
companies
haya
that there not be
aumento en términos reales
increase in real
de
terms
la energía
for
eléctrica.
electric energy.
Por eso ya cambió
And that's why it has changed this politics. It is not
que se cierren,
that they would be closing
se cancelen
or
plantas
canceling
de la
these,
Comisión Federal,
the Federal
sino
Commission
todo un
electrical
plan
plants, but
de
instead a plan
mantenimiento
of
para
maintenance
sostener
to
las
sustain
plantas actuales,
the actual plants and create
nuevas plantas
new plants
y modernizar
and to modernize
el sistema.
the system.
Por ejemplo,
For example,
el ingeniero
the
ha dado a
engineer
conocer
let you
que
know
hay 60
that there is 60
hidroeléctricas en el
hydroelectrics
país
in the
que se
country
construyeron
that were
desde hace
constructed
mucho tiempo.
a long time ago,
Es una infraestructura
and they're part of the
de primer
infrastructure
orden.
that are in
Estamos
first
hablando de
order.
grandes presas
We are talking about big
que se construyeron
places that were constructed
básicamente
basically
en los gobiernos
in the governments
postrevolucionarios.
post-revolutionary.
Angostura, por ejemplo, Chicoacén,
Chicoacén, Angostura,
Malpaso,
Malpaso, Peñeta,
en el río Grijalva,
Río Grijalva,
Temascal,
Tebascal,
Papaloapa
Nipapaloapa,
y otras
and others.
Presas, el caso de Michoacán,
El caso de Michoacán, Cernigno,
en la época
in the time of
presidente
the
López
President
Mateos.
Lopez Mateos.
Entonces,
So therefore,
esas hidroeléctricas,
these hydroelectric plants that are in total 60,
pues se hicieron
they were
hace
created
40, 50
40
años.
to 50 years ago.
Si se modernizan,
And if we modernize them,
pueden generar
they can
más
generate
energía,
more energy
porque
because
ya ha avanzado la tecnología,
technology has advanced
turbinas
and there's turbines that are modern.
con la misma
So with the
infraestructura,
same
con la misma
infrastructure
agua,
and the
se
same
puede
water,
generar más
we can
energía.
generate more
Todos son
electricity.
los planes que se
So these are
tienen
the plans
para
that we have in order
la
to,
Comisión Federal de Electricidad
so that the Federal Commission of Electricity continue to maintain
hasta el final
till the
del
end
sexenio
of our 6-year
el
term
54%
54%
de participación
of
en
participation
el mercado.
in the
Ese
market.
es el planteamiento
That is our plan
general
in general.
y la garantía
And the guarantee
de que no va a aumentar
that it will not
en
increase
términos reales
in real
el
terms
precio
the
de la
price
luz.
of lights or electricity.
Es decir,
That is to
no
say,
van a haber
there will not
los
be
aumentos
the
que se dieron
increase that they used to
en
have
el pasado.
in the past.
Ese es nuestro compromiso.
That is our
Estoy
commitment,
muy
and I am
satisfecho
very satisfied
con el equipo
with the team,
técnico de la Comisión Federal de
the
Electricidad.
technical team of the Federal
Son
Commission of
expertos.
Electricity. They are experts.
Yo siempre
I've
eh,
always
he dicho y
have
pienso
said and continue
que
to
ese es el
believe
tesoro que
that that
tenemos.
is the treasure that we have to rescue our
Los
country.
técnicos
That
mexicanos,
the Mexican
los
technicians,
trabajadores
the
mexicanos,
Mexican workers,
en este caso,
in this
los
case,
trabajadores
the workers
de la industria eléctrica
of the electric industry, in this case, are very responsible.
si hay un apagón por
If something electric goes out for whatever
se
reason,
quema un
a
transformador,
transformer
se
burns,
cae una línea,
a line falls,
un día, 2 días,
1 to 2 days, and it's already up to
la
normal.
energía
the
por
electric
los
energy
trabajadores
due to the
de
workers
la Comisión Federal
of the
de
Federal
Electricidad.
Commission of
Y
Electricity.
aprovechar también
And also
para
take advantage to
decirle
say
a los mexicanos
to the
que
Mexican
no
people
vamos a tener problemas
that we will not have
de
problems
falta de energía eléctrica.
of loss of electric energy,
Hay abasto suficiente,
that we have
y que no va a haber
sufficient,
apagones.
and that there will
Todo
not
esto
be
lo digo
en, ending or
no
electric
se
light outs, what do you call it, where there's no electricity,
manipule.
so that it will not be
Ayer
manipulated.
hablábamos de cómo
Yesterday we were
cuando
talking
íbamos
how they used
a
to
entregar teléfonos de
give
México,
you telephones in Mexico. There was a campaign
previa,
that was previous,
hablando de que era muy
talking
mal
about
servicio.
how the service would be so
Querían un
terrible,
plan
and they made a plan in order to
desincorporar,
disincorporate,
eufemísticamente,
euphemistically,
se llama a la
as what it's called privatization,
desincorporar
to disincorporate
esta empresa,
this company
convertirla
and convert it
en privada,
into a private,
lo público,
so the public,
convertirlo en privado.
to be
Lo
converting the
mismo
public into
pasó
private. The same thing
cuando
happened
inició el
when
proceso
they
de
initiated the process
privatización
of
del
privatization
cuando
of
hablábamos de esta reforma inicial
the electric
a la ley
energy
secundaria
to the secondary law of
89. Empezaron
89.
a hablar de que nos íbamos a
So
quedar
we
sin
started
luz.
talking about, oh, they said we're going to be without
Y por eso
electricity,
Había que
and that's why we had to
permitir
permit these,
el que participaran
they
los
participate,
particulares.
these particular companies.
No queremos que
So
ahora
we don't want now
se le dé crédito
that you give any credibility to a campaign
naturaleza,
of that nature,
porque
because
lo primero que he hecho
What-
es reunirme con los
what I've
técnicos
done first is meet with the technicians,
de manera directa
and in a
preguntarles,
direct way I asked them,
¿tenemos capacidad
do we have the
de
capacity
generación
to
de
generate
energía eléctrica?
electric energy?
¿Hay riesgos?
Are there risks that we will be without electric energy?
¿Pueden haber apagones?
Are there going to be
La respuesta
light
es
outs?
No,
They said no.
tenemos
We have
energía eléctrica
an electric energy
y
sufficient,
tenemos muy localizado,
and we have very
¿Dónde?
local,
se va a reforzar
where it's going to be
sobre todo
reinforced
el sureste.
above all in the southeast peninsula of
Que hace
Yucatan,
falta líneas de
and they
transmisión,
need electric lines for transmission,
hace falta
and they
la
need
construcción de
the
plantas,
construction of
ya
plants,
se va
and
a
it's
resolver
going to be
ese
resolved,
problema
this problem,
para que
in
no
order
tengamos,
to prevent
ninguna dificultad
any
en
difficulties
materia
with
de
the
energía
matter of
eléctrica.
energy,
También
electric energy. And
esto que les
also,
estoy comentando,
what I am commenting to you,
estamos
we are
tratando
um,
con representantes
we're dealing with it with
del
representatives
sector privado,
of the private sector,
porque
because
no hay
we cannot,
pleito.
we don't want to fight, we don't want confrontations.
Estamos definiendo las reglas.
So we're defining the laws or the rules so that
En el 46% en este
at,
caso,
in 46%, like in this case, that belongs to them or they've got coming,
va a significar generar
it
más
will
energía.
mean that they have to generate more energy.
Es 54,
Because we're talking
46
about
hoy,
54, 46 now,
pero
but
hay que tomar en cuenta
we have to take into account that that will
la
grow,
demanda
the demand.
y se
And-
va a requerir
And it's going to
que haya
require
más generación de
more
energía.
generation from
Entonces,
here.
La iniciativa privada va a seguir participando.
So the private industry will continue to participate to continue with the 46% or maintain it. And so we're talking about the national interest where
queremos
we want
que
to
se invierta
invest
a partir
as of
de la necesidad
the need or related to the
de
need
energía
of energy
para usuarios,
for the users,
para consumidores, y para
for
empresas,
consumers, and for the
para
country,
el desarrollo.
for the development of the country.
Entonces,
So
todo esto
therefore, all
no
these
es un
things
misterio,
are not a mystery.
ya se está trabajando
It is now, we are now
en una
working
planeación conjunta
in a
con el sector
conjunctive
privado.
plan with the private sector.
Esto es lo que queríamos.
This is what we wanted
Informarles,
to inform you.
vamos a contestar
And so we're going to be
pocas preguntas
answering
porque
few questions today
tenemos
because
gira,
we have a meeting
vamos
and we
a
need to go
Chiapas,
to Chiapas.
vamos a Bochín
And we're going to
y
Bochi
a Ocosocuautla,
and Cozocuautla,
más conocido
it's
como
known
Coita.
as Coita.
Ocosocuautla se le conoce como
Cozocuautla is known as Coita.
Calma, Coita.
Calma
Vamos
Coita.
ganando. Los de Chiapas sí saben.
Chiapas people know what I'm referring to.
Son
They
el día
are,
de hoy,
as of today,
dos actos.
two
Vamos
acts.
a seguir visitando hospitales
We're going to continue to visit hospitals
del seguro
from the
social,
Social Security,
hospitales rurales
rural hospitals
en Bochín
in Bochín
y en Ocosocuautla.
and Osococuautla. Tomorrow,
Vamos a estar
We-
en Matías Romero
we're going to be in Matias Romero's at the
En la
Istmo
mañana.
in the morning.
y al mediodía
And at noon, Saturday,
vamos a Jal-
we're going to
Veracruz.
Huntington, Veracruz.
dos visitas.
We're going to do two
Los
visits
hospitales.
to two different hospitals.
Y más tarde
And then after that, later,
vamos a estar en Minatitlán
we're going to be in Minatitlan
porque vamos a reunirnos con el
because we're going to
presidente
meet with the president
Honduras.
of Honduras.
Viene a conocer
He's coming
el
to
programa Sembrando Vida
see our plan Sembrando Vida.
a llegar a un acuerdo de
So we're going to come to
colaboración
an agreement of collaboration in order
que
to
se apoye a
support
Honduras
to Honduras
como se hizo
the way we
en el caso de El Salvador
did in the case of El
con el
Salvador.
propósito
My purpose,
de que
with the purpose
se
of
pueda atender de esa
attending
manera
in this
el
way
fenómeno
the
migratorio.
migratory phenomena.
Es decir,
That is to
con
say,
habilidades productivas
with
y
productive
con creación de
abilities
empleos.
and creation of jobs.
Eso
So,
es lo
so
que tenemos
this is
para
what we have
mañana.
planned for tomorrow.
Y el domingo
And Sunday, goodness,
vamos a Coscomatepec
we're going to Coscomatepec, Veracruz. He never rests.
a la Sierra
And we're going to
Sonorica
the Sierra of Sonorica
el domingo.
on Sunday.
Ya regresamos y nos vemos
So
el
we'll
lunes.
come back and we'll see
Entonces,
each other
Si
Monday.
les parecen unas
So if you don't
cinco,
mind, about 5
preguntas.
questions.
ustedes tres,
So you three?
el tres
Okay,
y
three,
tres mujeres.
3 and 3 girls.
Ah, allá están, tres.
So there's
La
the three.
compañera y dos allá.
So those 2 over there.
Ahí quedó.
So 3 over there.
Representen a todos. O sea,
Represent all of each other.
recojan,
Why don't you
este,
gather questions and kind of be
Muy buenos días,
la
presidente.
collective?
Muy buenos días, presidente. Ramón Flores, corresponsal de Los Ángeles.
He's from Los
de
Angeles.
Lizarraga. Señor presidente, ayer sucedió algo muy grave
Yesterday
promovido desde
something
la agencia del
very
Estado de
grave
Notimex,
that started from
que fue
Notimex,
difundir información falsa
that
de
was
las
to
víctimas
give,
de Isabel Miranda.
false
relacionándolas
information
con el
about
caso de Plaza Ars.
Isabel Miranda.
Con esta información se
With this
publicó la imagen
information,
de
they
George Curilayón, víctima
published
de detención arbitraria en 3 ocasiones,
a,
torturado y en prisión desde
oh my gosh,
2009.
he's been tortured
Su
in
caso
prison
fue
since
investigado por
2009.
Naciones
His
Unidas y
case
desde
was
el 2017
evaluated
se
since,
solicitó al gobierno de Peña Nieto su
oh my
libertad
God,
inmediata,
2017.
haciendo caso omiso.
And so they've
Mi
been
pregunta
asking
es,
for his release
¿cuántas pruebas más
because there was
necesita el
evidence that he
Estado
was,
mexicano para liberar a las víctimas y
was
poner en prisión a los verdaderos
exonerated and
responsables
he's still in
de la
prison?
fabricación del caso Wallace,
So regarding the
como las
case
instituciones
Wallace,
internacionales
also the
de derechos
international
humanos lo solicitan? Y
case
¿cuándo
of
va a parar
human rights
este
is
grave daño
soliciting?
moral del que
And when
participa
are they
Notimex?
going to
Tenemos
stop
unas
this
pocas
grave
pruebas
crime that
que
Notimex
puedo hacer llegar
is
a
participating in by
sus
giving
puntos
false
de
news?
hacemos algo.
So we're gonna do something if you don't
Pedimos a
mind.
Alejandro Encina
We're gonna ask Alejandra Encinas to inform us
sobre este tema
regarding this matter
la semana que viene.
next week.
Nos ponemos de acuerdo con
So we'll get in agreement with
y
Jesus
que Él nos dé el informe.
and let him give us the information.
Adelante.
So
Buenos días, presidente Marco Antonio Olvera. El Poder Judicial, a través
the
de algunos
judicial
jueces,
power
ahora ya son
via
cómplices
some
de los ladrones que
judges
son
are
dueños
now
de algunas
accomplices
gasolinerías en el país,
of some of the
otorgándoles
gas
amparos
companies
para
that are
que
giving
Profeco no verifique sus
uh,
softwares. Hasta ese
forgiveness
momento
for
hay
crimes.
46 amparos
46
para que la Profeco
forgivenesses
no
so far,
verifique
so
esos
that you
softwares,
cannot
pues esos
verify
están
their,
vendiendo
because
litros que
they're
no son litros de
selling
gasolina.
liters
¿Cómo
that are
actuará
not
su
liters of
gobierno
gas?
si se les va a
How
quitar
can
esas
your
concesiones,
government
presidente?
gonna
Porque tal parece
take away those
que ahora estos
concessions
concesionarios
that these
roban amparados bajo la
concessionaires
ley y en
are
una parte
stealing,
incluso se ve.
and the people
Bueno, ya
are
se está
unable to
actuando.
find out? Yes, we are
Primero,
acting already.
dando a
First,
conocer
we're going to let,
todos
or
los
by letting
lunes
them know every Monday
quién es quién
who is who
en los precios.
when it comes to prices.
Yo creo que esto ha ayudado mucho
I think it has helped a
para
lot
tener
in order
el
to
control
control
sobre los precios.
regarding prices.
Quiero aclarar de que
I want to
se está
clarify
haciendo
that we are
esta
doing
campaña
this
de
campaign
información
of information
porque
because
nosotros estamos cumpliendo
we are complying
distribuyendo
by distributing
la gasolina
the gasoline
con precio justo,
with a just
Es decir,
price
sin aumento.
without increasing
de
it,
acuerdo al compromiso.
according to our commitment,
Para que no se abuse,
in order that they not
por
abuse.
eso se informa
That's why we inform
de
you
quién es quién
who's
en
who
los precios.
in gas
Y-
prices.
Vamos a
So we are going to,
informen el lunes
on
próximo
Monday, ask for the information
cuántas
on next Monday.
Inconformidades se han
How many
presentado.
inconformities and how many forgivenesses
El
they've
lunes
been given
sí,
on Monday.
Sí,
Yes, but he says
pero
by
que,
Monday,
Ricardo Sheffield, que es
Ricardo Sheffield
el de la Procuraduría
is the one
de
who's in
Defensa del Consumidor,
defense of
nos informe el lunes
the consumer needs to inform on
y
Monday.
que nos pueda
And he can
decir
tell
qué
us
se está haciendo.
what is being done,
Seguramente
because
ya está
surely
ocupado.
he's on,
Pero el lunes
aware.
tendríamos
So
que
Monday,
conocer
we'll have this
sobre
information
eso.
complete
Y
regarding that.
una segunda pregunta, si me
Next
permite,
question,
por
if
favor.
you would permit me.
Presidente, los adversarios de México
The
están
adversaries of Mexico
aglutinados en
are
diversos partidos
in,
políticos que existen,
diverse,
como son el PRI,
PRI,
el PAN,
PAN,
el PRD, Movimiento Ciudadano y el
PRD,
Verde Ecologista.
and the
Pero
Green
también están
Columnists, but
aglutinados
they're
en algunos
also
medios de
in
comunicación
the media of
y, por
communication,
supuesto,
and of
también
course,
dentro del Poder Judicial,
within the judicial
incluso
power,
dentro de la
and
iniciativa
within
privada.
the private
Ellos,
initiative.
presidente, con la llegada de
And
su
with this,
gobierno, no
since
están
your
muertos,
government,
se
they're
están
not
heridos
mute,
y las
they're not
acciones
dead,
más que evidentes
and their actions
han
are
montado
still
una campaña
evident,
para
and they've
ejecutar un
mounted,
posible golpe de Estado, se
they
rumora,
are
y así
trying to
terminar
do
con el
a
proyecto de la 4T.
state
Su gobierno
attack on the
¿cómo
state.
actuará para
So will your
desmantelar una
government
campaña de
is going to
desprestigio que busca descalificar su proyecto de gobierno?
act to
Porque desde
prevent that
diferentes trincheras
disprestigious,
pretenden adueñarse del
because
México
they're
que
trying
tuvieron
to
durante 40 años y que
become
ahora se les está yendo de las manos.
back in control of this country that was in their hands for so long, and now
No
they've
quiere
lost
decir
control.
que
I'm not going
sea
to
ingenuo,
try to control them. I'm not trying to be disingenuous or
confiado,
or
conozco la
confident.
historia
I do know the history
muy bien,
very well.
sé lo que son capaces
I know what they're capable of doing,
los conservadores
these conservatives,
para
in order to
evitar
prohibit
los cambios.
the changes
No
or
se
inhibit.
deja eso de historia.
History has shown us that, but the truth is, I do not see
En la actualidad,
in
ningún
actuality
riesgo.
any risk.
Hay, desde luego,
Of course, there are
críticas, cuestionamientos,
critiques and
pero no
questionings,
tienen
but they
mucho
have
efecto
no or minimal effect.
y además son
And besides,
críticas
they're
y
politics
cuestionamientos
and questionings
legítimos
that are
de
legitimate
opositores.
from opposers.
No han pasado las cosas a mayores.
Things have not gone to something major, that is to say,
Es normal que
It's
exista
normal
la
that there
oposición.
be an opposition.
Hay
There is,
quienes están como fuera de quicio
that those that are out of sorts,
porque
because
sí se están llevando a cabo los cambios,
yes, the changes are going forth,
pero es normal.
but that's normal.
Si no fuese una transformación,
If it wasn't a
si fuese un
transformation,
simple cambio de
if it was
gobierno,
simply a change of
y no
government
un cambio de
and
régimen,
not a change of regimen,
pues entonces
of course,
no habría
there
nada,
would be no
no se
issues.
movería nada.
Nothing would be a problem, nothing would be
Pero
moved. However,
sí
because
se
yes,
están llevando a cabo
the
cambios
changes are
importantes.
happening that are
Este mismo
important.
diálogo
Even this dialogue,
circular,
this circular dialogue,
ayer que
yesterday,
hablamos
as we
de
talked
Coneval,
about Conabat,
que uno de ustedes
that one of you
hizo
guys
investigación,
did an investigation.
yo ni sabía
I didn't even know
que el Coneval
that Conaval
tenía
had
300
300
plazas
plazas
ocupadas
occupied,
y que tenía una inversión de 600 millones.
and that they
No
had an
tenía
investment
idea.
of 600 million.
Este,
I didn't have that data
exacto,
exactly
a detalle.
or in detail.
Y
So,
se da a conocer aquí el dato.
since you guys let me know, because of these
Toda
times,
la vida pública es
everything's
cada vez
public.
más pública.
The public life is every day more
Y así va a
public.
ser.
And that's how it's going to continue to be.
Transparencia es la
Transparency,
regla de oro de la democracia.
which is the rule of gold of
Entonces el
democracy.
mismo compañero de ustedes
So your same partner
dice,
here
¿por qué no,
said, why not?
en vez de que exista
Instead of
el
you,
Coneval,
Coneval
ese
exists,
trabajo, esa función,
that job can
la
be
hace el INEGI?
done by INEGI.
Entonces
So then,
ya
there
hubo respuesta, ¿no?
there was a response, right?
Porque se opone
So the opposers, of
a lo
course,
que propuso el
were
compañero.
responding to what he proposed.
Por ejemplo,
For example,
al interior,
in the
del mismo
interior
movimiento.
of the same
Pero esto
movement,
es bueno,
but this is good.
esto no existía.
This didn't used to exist.
No, 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 no.
No, no, no.
Porque
Because
al final de cuentas,
at the end of it all,
si se
if they
argumenta bien,
if they argument properly,
la gente
the people
es la que va.
is the one that is going to decide.
O sea,
That is to say,
no son imposiciones.
these are not impositions.
Si se le pregunta a la gente
If you ask the people,
si quieren que continúen
do you
la
want to
limpia
continue the cleansing
y que se acabe la
and
corrupción,
that corruption
ya
end?
puedo dar el resultado
I can give you the results already
de la encuesta
of the
por
inquest
adelantado.
in advance.
80-20.
80-20.
Si se le pregunta a la gente,
If you ask the people,
¿quieres que
do you want
los
that the
altos funcionarios
that
dejen
the
de
high
ganar
functionary officials
tanto?
stop earning so much?
O si crees que estuvo
Or if
bien
you
que se
think it
bajara
was
el
good
sueldo
that we lowered the
de
salaries
esos altos
of the
funcionarios
high
que
functioning
ganaban
officials
hasta 700,000
that
pesos
won
mensuales?
700,000 a
Ya
month?
conozco el resultado.
I already know what that result would be
Encuesta.
of that inquest.
Van a decir, de acuerdo.
Well, of course they're going to say that's good,
80%.
80%.
Entonces,
So therefore,
no tenemos ningún problema
we don't
porque
have
los
any
ciudadanos
problem because the citizens
están participando.
are participating.
Ese fue el cambio.
That was the change.
El que ahora
That now
el pueblo
the people
cuenta,
counts on,
participa.
participates on.
Es que antes
It's just that before
se pensaba que el pueblo no existía.
they thought the people didn't
Y
exist
que estos asuntos,
and that these
la
matters,
política era asunto de los
politics,
políticos.
were matters for the politicians.
Vamos a hacer política. ¿No?
So they would say, let's
¿Qué
do
significa?
politics. What that meant? What did that mean?
Acuerdos populares.
They would say,
Desayunos
they would say,
entre políticos.
they used to
Comida
have breakfast
entre políticos.
between politicians, food between
Restaurantes de
politicians,
cenas entre políticos.
dinners
Había
between
restaurantes
politicians.
famosos,
And they even had famous
exclusivos para
restaurants
los políticos.
for exclusive for the politicians.
Y ahí
And
se
there,
decidía la
they
vida
decided
pública de
what public
México.
life would be in Mexico.
Políticos y medios.
Politicians and a half.
Ahora no.
Not now.
Ahora
Now,
el ciudadano,
the citizen,
todos,
all of them,
hasta los más humildes,
even the most
opinan,
humble, give an opinion
participan.
and participate.
Ese fue el cambio.
That was the change.
Entonces,
So
hay
therefore,
discrepancias.
there's discrepancies,
Bienvenidas.
and they're welcome.
Qué bien que hay
That is good,
cuestionamientos.
that there's
Qué
questioning.
bien
It's good
que hay críticas.
that there's
Yo voy a
critiques.
dar a conocer
I will let you know
en dónde voy a vivir.
where I'm gonna live.
También
Yeah,
temporalmente. Porque
temporarily, because
no quiero dejar de vivir
I don't want to stop
en
living
mi casa.
in my own home. And
Pero
he said your house, which
por
is all.
trabajo
But because of
voy a
work,
vivir
I'm going to live
aquí en Palacio
here in Palacio
en un departamento
in a small
y
apartment.
les voy a dar a conocer
And I will let you know
las dimensiones
the
del departamento.
dimensions of the apartment.
Pero
But
fíjense
imagine
cómo han cambiado las cosas,
how things have changed,
las vueltas que da la
the
vida.
turns that life gives you.
Ese departamento
That department or apartment
lo construyó
was constructed
Calderón.
by Calderón,
y
and
lo mantuvo el presidente Peña
Peña maintained it,
y no se sabía.
and nobody even knew about it. Ah, secret hideaway.
Nunca salió.
The love nest,
Una nota.
those bad guys. And so nobody knew about it.
Que
So let's make a note.
se hizo ese departamento.
There was not even any notification that they made that apartment until now.
Se va a dar a conocer.
So now you're going to
que
know
existe el departamento.
that this apartment exists.
Pero que
But
dijeron
what did they say?
nuestros adversarios,
Not
los medios,
our adversaries in the media.
periódico Reforma,
The
iba yo a vivir en un palacio.
Reforma. They were saying, oh, I'm going to go live in a palace.
En una nota
And in a note,
dieron a conocer
they let them know
pues, todos los salones del palacio.
all the salons of the,
Ese
or
salón,
the
palace,
palace,
rosa, el salón
the pink
de
room,
embajadores,
the ambassador
el salón
room,
principal.
the principal room.
Cuando es un departamento
When it's like a little
que
apartment
existía,
that already existed,
donde voy
where I'm going to go
vivir.
to live.
Pero todo esto
But all of this
es nuevo
is new,
y qué bueno, ¿eh?
and it's good
Porque es transparencia,
because it's transparency.
que insisto es la regla
But
de
I
oro de
insist is the
democracia.
rule of gold for
Los gobernantes
democracy.
estamos obligados
Governors were
a
obligated
informar,
to inform,
pero antes
but before,
no
no, they
se
just,
podía
you couldn't do that.
decir nada.
You couldn't say anything.
La consigna era
The consignment was
obedecer
to obey
y callar.
and shut up.
Yo recuerdo que
I recall that
cuando llega el avión presidencial,
when the presidential airplane used to come that Calderón bought for
subieron a un
Peña,
grupo de periodistas
they boarded
nada
a
más
group
que
of
seleccionados.
newspapers so that they can,
Al que no,
and they warned them they couldn't say anything,
y no salió,
and nothing was said.
hace poquito.
Just a little while ago,
Bueno, hace relativamente
a relatively short time.
Ahora
So now,
debemos de felicitarnos,
now we need to be congratulated
porque
because
es una sociedad viva.
it's a society that's alive.
Hay
There is
cuestionamientos, hay
questionings and debates,
debates, y esto significa que
and this means that we are advancing as a country,
que
and that
hay más desarrollo
there's
político,
more political development, and of course, more
desarrollo democrático.
democratic development.
Pues por eso
So therefore, these,
bueno, vamos, adelante.
let's go forward then.
Buen día, ingeniero.
So,
Presidente, bueno,
engineer,
aprovechando que ya tocó el tema
we'd like
del
to ask
departamento que construyó
regarding,
Calderón.
uh,
Recuerdo que
regarding
en el
the
2012 quiso
apartment.
poner un spa en la Cámara de Diputados.
He tried to put a
en
spa
las
in
oficinas
the
del PAN.
office
Aquí
of
no
the
le puso
PAN.
spa a
Did
la
he put a
casa, o
spa in
¿puede
that
describir
room?
un poco cómo fue?
Or can you describe a
No,
little
es
bit what
la
it's like?
misma casa, los
No,
mismos espacios.
it's the same house, it's the same space.
Eso
No,
lo
it doesn't
tenía.
have that, and it didn't have that.
Mire, hay que aclarar.
Let's clarify
Son
that.
3 recámaras,
It's 3 bedrooms,
sala,
a living room,
comedor y cocina.
a kitchen,
Eso es.
and a dining room.
Mandé a hacer el plano porque no
But
había.
I had them do a floor plan because there wasn't one.
No estaba
There wasn't one made.
inventariado.
It wasn't inventoried.
O sea, se
That is to say,
construyó
they constructed it
y no se sabía.
and nobody knew about it.
Yo les comento que
I'm commenting
de buena
that in good faith,
yo no sabía tampoco.
I didn't even know that it existed.
Y en una de las
And
reuniones que
in
tuve
one
con
of the
el presidente
meetings
Peña,
that I was with Presidente Peña, while I was president-elect
dice,
already,
"Venga,
he says, come here,
te quiero mostrar".
I want to show you
Como él
something.
sabía que yo
Because he
tenía
knew
el propósito de
I knew the
vivir aquí,
purpose of living here.
ya me llevó
So he took me
al departamento
to the apartment.
y ahí lo conocí.
And that's when I found out about
Me
it.
enteré.
That's when I got to know
Entonces,
it. So therefore,
que voy a hacer es
what I'm going to do is let you see it.
el espacio.
And the space,
No voy pues
I'm not
a
going
grabar nada de
to record any of
del interior y
the
todo
interior or
eso.
the habitation, because that's
No hace falta, no hace
not
falta.
necessary. I'm just going to give you
Es decir,
the,
¿dónde está?
like where it's
Y
at.
sí voy
And yes, I
a
will,
separar
to separate
la parte histórica,
the historic part,
porque
because
los salones
the salons
a los que hacen mención a Reforma,
that the Reforma is making mention of,
como están, pues,
they're going to
esa
continue to be as they
es
are.
parte del patrimonio
It's part of the
histórico-cultural que se
historical,
tiene que cuidar. No se
cultural
usan.
area that needs to be maintained, and
Exacto, no
it's
los
not
uso.
being used, or I will not be using them,
Y
and
se va a conservar
it will be conserved.
y la atención
And the attention
en presidencia
in
se
the
va a dar
presidency,
en el área que tenía
it will be in the area
el
that
Estado
was
Mayor Presidencial.
in the major presidential
Lo que
state,
ocupaba el Estado Mayor Presidencial.
where the major
Es lo que
presidential
va a
state,
utilizar
that's
presidencia.
what the president
Y el
is going to
resto,
be used. And the rest,
con excepción
with
del espacio
exception
presidencial,
of
que es
the,
lo único
it's the
que va a
only
conservar
area that we're
en
going to
actividad.
use or can to maintain an
Y
activity.
eso
And that will,
para
in order to,
cuando
so that
se necesite.
when it's needed,
Pues todo lo demás,
but the
los
rest,
salones,
the salons
se queda como
are
eh,
going to be
museo,
kept
vamos
like a
decir,
museum, you know,
para ser utilizado
so that it can be
en
utilized
momentos
in moments
muy especiales.
that are very
Por
special.
ejemplo,
For example,
para recibir
to
al
receive
cuerpo diplomático
the diplomatic
y
team,
el día de
and on the
Pedrito,
day of Pedrito,
que sí se utiliza
that it gets utilized,
el salón principal,
the principal salon and the balcony,
principal.
and the principal balcony. Only that.
No es para hacer ninguna actividad
It's not for any other activities,
el palacio,
this palace.
ningún otro tipo.
What about this brief question? You've talked a lot about Huachicol, that's gas thievery. They are also stealing from electricity, Huachicol in these large companies that have been forgiven also of condoning energy was forgiven governmentally, etc. In Huachicol, they're also
muy importante el
stealing
cable. Podemos
in
tener
cable,
estas tres
the
diferentes,
cable.
número uno, de
Number
cuánto es
one,
el siguiente
how
es
much
ese huachicol de
are
cable.
they stealing
Número dos, de
cable?
cuántas son las
Number
pérdidas en
two,
general de la
how
empresa.
much are they
Y
losing
cuánto
from
se ha
the,
condenado de deudas
and how much have
de
they
electricidad.
condoned
¿Te
for
podría
electricity?
tiene información?
So he's asking his worker, do you have information? And it looks like he does.
Bien, el porcentaje de
The
pérdidas
percentage of loss
se divide en
is
pérdidas
divided
técnicas
in
y no
technicals
técnicas.
and
Las no
non-technical.
técnicas
The
regularmente son
non-technical
ilícitos.
are illicit.
Anda sobre el
It's
11%
It's about 11%,
y hemos estado reduciendo
and we have
a
been
partir
reducing
de
as
que se nos dejó
we
a
were
cargo
given
toda la
in
parte
charge
central
of the central area.
cuando
When
hubo
there was a
la liquidación
liquidation
de
of
Juez. Con
Suspi
esto
Juez, I'm not sure what he said.
podemos
With this, we
seguir
can continue
reduciendo
reducing
con base a
with
estar
the base
haciendo
of
estas revisiones
doing these
en cuanto a los
evaluations regarding the cables
al robo de estructuras
to the
de
structural
transmisión que también se da,
transmission theft,
y la posibilidad
and the possibility
de una red inteligente.
of an
Esa
intelligent
red
web,
inteligente, sistemas de medición que te
systems
puedan
to measure
dar
that
la
will
localización
let you know
cuando se
the
está
locality
cometiendo
when
un
there is
ilícito.
an illicit.
Es de lo que tenemos
That
ya
is what we have
en
now
progreso
in
para
progress
poder
in
llevar
order
a
to
cabo,
do
mejores
this,
índices. Nosotros
increasing
vemos
the
esos
indexes.
índices
And yes,
bajo
we
un
look at these
programa operativo
indexes
anual
as an
y
operative
medimos
operation
todas las
annually,
estrategias
and we
que se
measure
están
all the
llevando a cabo.
strategies that are coming
También
forth.
podemos garantizar
And we can
que en
also
un momento
guarantee
dado,
that in a
esa
given
reducción
moment,
de
that
pérdidas
reduction
vaya
will be
mejorando las
getting
finanzas
better,
de lo
and
que es
it'll
la
increase the
Comisión Federal de
finances
Electricidad.
of the Federal Commission of Electricity.
De deuda tenemos
What about the condoning of the
como hay de
forgiveness
la
of
congelación de
electric,
impuestos?
of gas?
No exactamente
Or, I'm sorry,
lo que se está
taxes.
viendo
No,
es
that's
la
what we're
parte
exactly
de
looking at.
lo que son la
What
cartera
we're
vencida
trying to look at the
con
lost
usuarios que llevan
function
mucho
of people
tiempo
that have been a
sin
long
pagar su
time
luz.
without paying their electricity,
Y bajo de un programa
and
que
under
se
a program
viene
that is coming,
conviniendo
that is combined
entre
with
lo que es
what
estos
that which is
usuarios y los
usual
gobiernos estatales,
and that which
se ha
is
podido
state
ir
governments.
ya
And
recuperando
it has
esa
now been
situación de cartera porque a partir
re recovered
de la
as
fecha
of
en que
the time that
reportan ya
it was
sus,
reported,
su recontratación
their
con la Comisión
recontracting
Federal de
with the
Electricidad,
Commission of
se va haciendo ya
Electricity,
esa recuperación de
then
la
we
cartera
recover
vencida. Hay
their
casos como el de
monies that
Tabasco
were
que tenían
behind.
hasta 25 años.
There were some cases like in Tabasco that they had been 25 years out without paying their electricity. What about the debts? What about these very high salaries? Can we have the information about the salaries? Yes, the President will let us get that information.
Y cuando se
And when
detengan,
we have it,
me informe,
I will inform,
se da a conocer
I will let you know
cómo andan las deudas
how the debts are
de usuarios
of the
en
users
Comisión Federal.
in the Federal Commission of
Hay que ver
Electricity.
nada más
Let's see only that
la legislación,
what is regarding legislation
cuidar que no se vaya
in order to provide that it not affect legally anybody,
no se exhiba a nadie,
so that they don't
signifique
exhibit anybody and it mean
una infracción
an
legal
infraction
de parte nuestra.
legal on our part.
Podemos hacer como se hizo
We can do like we
con
did
las condonaciones de
with the
impuestos,
condoning of taxes,
que no se mencionaron,
that we didn't mention the companies,
pero sí
but we did name
cuántas empresas,
how many
qué montos,
companies and how much,
o cuántos
or
usuarios.
how many users, etc.
Pues vamos a, ¿les parece una semana?
So we'll deal with it in a week.
Sí, en una
Yes,
semana.
in a week.
Completa información.
Complete information.
Les pedimos a los técnicos
And we will ask the technicians. I'm sorry, I was freezing, my AC was hitting me.
sí, ese es
So here,
otro
that's
tipo
another
de
type of
práctica, ¿no?
practice
Que también
that also
deberían de explicarnos
They need to explain to us
en esa ocasión.
on that
Lo
occasion
que sucede,
what
yo creo que te
happens.
refieres
And I know
a
what
que
you're
las
referring to,
particulares
that
utilizan
particulars
la
are
infraestructura de la Comisión Federal de
utilizing
Electricidad,
the infrastructure of
sobre
the
todo la
electric
línea de
company.
transmisión,
For example, the line
y
of transmission,
no se paga
and they don't pay,
o hay un subsidio.
or there's a subsidiary.
Entonces, sobre eso también
So
podríamos
regarding this, we can
hablar.
also talk.
Muy bien,
Very well.
se está viendo, pero
We're
queremos
looking
llegar,
into that, but
acuerdos
we want to come to an agreement
con la iniciativa privada y es
with
muy
the
buena
private
la relación.
initiative. And the relationship is real good.
No hay confrontación, inclusive ayer me
There's no
informaron
confrontation, including yesterday they
de que
informed me
van por buen camino las pláticas
that the talks are going on a good route
acerca
regarding
de los gasoductos
the
que
gas
tienen que ver
ducts
con
that have to do with
la Comisión Federal de
the
Electricidad.
Federal Commission of Electricity.
¿Qué tal, presidente? Buenos días. ¿Nos podría compartir, por favor, la información que tiene en este momento acerca del suceso en el que fueron asesinados dos personas de origen
Can you tell
de
us about
Israel?
the
Ayer se
Israeli
dijo,
two people that were murdered?
por la Procuraduría Capitalina, primero que no se
Capital.
iba a dar el caso a la
That they
Fiscalía
weren't
General,
going to give
pero
the Attorney
también se
General the
señaló
case, but they
que
also
esto es
signaled
parte de
that that was
una
part of
mafia
a
y de
mafia
una situación en la que
and
podría
a
haber otro tipo de
situation
delitos como
that may
lavado
have
de
other
dinero
crimes
o
like
venta de armas.
laundering
¿Qué
money
reporte tiene
and
esta mañana usted
arms
de este
sales.
caso, si nos pudiera compartir? Esa sería la primera
And
pregunta.
if you have information on this
Sí,
case,
tengo
and could you
información.
tell us? Yes, I have
que
information.
en efecto
That in effect,
las personas que perdieron la vida
the people that lost their lives
tenían antecedentes
had previous
participar
crime
en
participation,
actos ilícitos,
illicit behavior,
de acuerdo a los reportes
according to the reports,
que incluso
that inclusively
presentaron de la
Pres-
embajada de Israel.
presented from the
En México.
Israel embassy from
Entonces,
Mexico.
la Fiscalía General
So the Attorney
está llevando
General
a cabo la
was
investigación,
taking forth the investigation.
pero no fue un asunto
But it was not a matter
nacional,
that was a
como
national,
se dijo
like they said
inicialmente.
initially.
Es algo que tiene que
It's
ver
something that has to
con la
do
delincuencia.
with delinquency.
Hasta ahí lo dejo.
And I'll leave it there.
¿Lo va a traer el caso la Fiscalía?
La
Is the,
Fiscalía
is the
está,
district attorney
viendo
looking at that case?
este asunto. Toda la información la
Yes.
tiene ya
He already has all the
el
information.
gobierno de la
The
ciudad,
government of the city.
que han estado actuando,
And they have been acting. But
es muy probable que
it
la
is very
Fiscalía General
probable that the general fiscal district attorney take charge of the matter.
Nosotros tenemos información de todo lo que
Yes,
pasa
we have
en el
information about everything that's happening in the country,
país, pero
but
pues hay cosas que no podemos decir.
there's things that we cannot say.
Sí sabemos lo que sucede.
Yes, we know what's
Y en
happening.
este caso
And in
tenemos
this
toda la
case,
información.
we have all the information.
No quiero yo adelantar.
I don't want to let you know in advance anything.
Se está haciendo la investigación,
The investigation is being done,
los antecedentes de las
The
personas,
antecedents of the people that lost their lives,
la señora que fue
the lady
detenida,
that was detained,
todo
all of it,
lo que tiene que ver
what
con
that has
este
to do with this
asunto.
matter.
Sí,
Yes,
es algo
it is something
relacionado
that is related
con el
to
llamado crimen
with
organizado.
the so-called organized crime.
Y ya ustedes van a
And
tener la información.
you will have the
Completa.
information completely later,
Inclusive,
including
también
also
en estos casos
in these matters,
la información
the information
fluye
flows
con más
with more
rapidez y es
rapidness,
apegada a la
and is
realidad, es
more
más veraz.
real,
En los medios,
more veracity in the media.
Lo que se está diciendo en los
What they
medios
are saying in the media
es muy cercano a la realidad.
it's very close to what's true.
Presidente, antes de pasar a la segunda pregunta,
So
si me
before
permite
we
nada
go
más
to the
precisar,
next question,
la
can I
Fiscalía
ask you
General
about
de la
the
República
District
va a
Attorney of
traer
the
este caso.
Federal
Es
Republic?
probable,
Is he
porque
going to handle this case? It's probable. Yes,
es
because
un
it is a
asunto que tiene
matter
que
that
ver
has
con
to do with
delincuencia
delinquency, organized
Como le
delinquency.
mencionaba, el segundo
What
tema,
about the
con el
second matter?
diagnóstico
With
que
the
emitió
diagnosis
Semarnat
that
acerca de
Cybernet
las
gave
cuestiones operativas y
regarding
ambientales
the
en torno al aeropuerto de Santa Lucía,
Santa
¿considera usted
Lucia
que ya está libre la
report
guía para esta construcción
for the
o
construction
todavía
of the
está usted
airport, or are you
esperando
still
algunos
waiting
otros
on some
estudios?
other studies?
ya tenemos todo.
No, we have everything.
Lo único que
The only thing
estamos esperando
that
es
we are
que
waiting
se terminen
is that they
de
finish
desahogar
to dealing with the states
que afortunadamente
that
se han
unfortunately
acumulado
have accumulated,
y se
and
les tiene que dar
you have to give them
pues, ya
some
una respuesta
a response
legal
legally,
desde nuestro
as
punto de vista.
as from our point of view,
Son procedentes,
the procedures
pero pues eso
But
lo tiene que resolver
that has to be resolved
el juez,
by the judge,
el Poder Judicial.
the judicial powers.
Esto estamos esperando.
So we're waiting on
Fue un
that.
avance
It was an advance,
el tener ya el
the,
estudio
the
de
receiving
impacto
the impact
ambiental
study of the environmental
de
impact
que
study,
se permite
where it permits
trabajar.
us to work.
Yo espero que
I'm hopeful
ya,
that
el Poder Judicial resuelva lo más
that
pronto posible,
the judicial powers will resolve this as soon as
que no
possible,
haya
and there not be
tácticas
tactical
dilatorias,
delays,
que la justicia sea
that
pronta
that justice be
expedita.
swift and expedite,
y que ya
and that it be resolved, this matter,
porque
because
nos demora
it's
tiempo
delaying our time
de la construcción
for the construction
del aeropuerto
of the airport.
y queremos
And we want to
ya iniciar
initiate it
porque
already.
tenemos 2 años y
Because
medio.
we've been waiting well, we only have 2.5 years to do
A lo
it.
mejor lo que quieren
Or
nuestros adversarios
maybe that's what
es que
our
no
adversaries want, is for us not to
en
comply
tiempo y forma,
in the time and
pero
form.
vamos a cumplir
But we will comply.
y lo estamos haciendo
And we are doing it
respetando
respecting
todo el procedimiento
all the
legal.
procedures, legal procedures.
En otros tiempos,
In other times,
imagínense cómo
imagine how
la
they did
autorización
the authorization
o
or
cómo hicieron,
how they
se aprobó el estudio de
how
impacto
they
ambiental
impact
para
environmental
construir esto.
study that was for Texcoco that was in the middle of a lake.
Ni- ¿Lo supieron ustedes?
Didn't you even know about it?
¿Se supo?
Did you know? Was it known?
A lo mejor hay que ir a la biblioteca,
Perhaps.
porque sí.
Maybe
escribió
somebody,
sobre el tema.
yeah, maybe it was written
Este-
about
Nada,
nothing.
era
It was like,
un telefonazo
all they did was call.
y nos surge,
And they said it's urgent.
hagan
Do
el estudio
the study
para
in order
llenar el expediente.
to fill out our files,
Pura formalidad.
all formalities.
Y era
And it was,
pues nada menos que acabar con el lago de
it just
Texcoco.
meant that we were going to destroy our lake in Texcoco.
Y no hubo ningún problema.
And there was no problem.
A lo mejor no hubo ni amparo.
Maybe they didn't even have any stays.
No sé, pero
I
hay
don't
que
know,
investigar.
but we would have to investigate that.
¿Mande?
What about the judicial and executive
No,
power?
lo que pasa
No.
es que
What happened is,
por primera vez
this
en
is the
muchos
first
años,
time in many years,
en décadas,
in decades,
a lo mejor en siglos.
maybe in centuries.
Hay un auténtico Estado
There
de
is
Derecho.
an actual correct
había
state that was not
Estado de Derecho.
state of right, of
El
correctness.
poder de los poderes
The power of
era el
powers
ejecutivo
was the executive,
y el poder judicial
and the judicial
y el
power
poder legislativo
and the legislative power
eran
were
apéndices,
appendages.
estaban subordinados.
They were subordinated.
Ahora no.
Not now.
Ahora hay independencia
Now they're independent
y autonomía de poderes.
and autonomous in their powers.
¿Cuándo
When
se había visto
had you ever seen
de que
that
el presidente
the president
dijera algo
would say something
y al día siguiente
and the next day
el de su mismo partido,
from
el
his own
dirigente de
party,
la Cámara,
the one that was the director,
lo cuestionara
would question him
o expresara
or express
su
his
desacuerdo.
disagreement.
¿Se acuerdan ustedes? de
Do
algo
you
así?
recall anything like that?
No, no sé, pero
I don't know, but
totalmente
totally
distinto.
different.
Por ejemplo,
For example,
a ver,
let's see,
¿cuándo
when
renunciaba una persona,
did a person complain,
un alto funcionario,
a high functioning official,
como pasó ahora,
like they did now,
que renunció
when
el secretario de Hacienda
this secretary
y de
of
inmediato lo
immediately
contrata
they
un periódico
immediately contracted him from a newspaper
para que escriba?
so that he could write.
Yo no recuerdo
I don't recall that,
ningún caso así.
any case like that.
O hay.
Or is there one?
En los últimos tiempos, a ver.
So in the last few years, what about Carlos Salinas that he wrote?
No, 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 no.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Es que es interesante.
No, this is interesting.
Renuncia un
So
secretario
a secretary renounces his job or
y
quits,
lo contrata un periódico
and a periodical contracts him
para,
in order
que
to,
no está mal,
which is not bad, of
O
course.
sea,
It's good.
no estoy
I'm not saying that,
en contra de eso.
or I'm not against that,
Pero
but
así era antes.
was it like that before?
Hay que buscar
Let's just look.
Porque a lo
Let's
mejor
search
sí
it
se dio.
out. Perhaps it did happen.
algún caso.
Maybe at one case.
Entonces, ¿por qué
So then,
menciono todo
why
esto?
do I mention this?
Porque me siento muy orgulloso.
Because I'm very proud.
O sea,
Because
es un timbre de orgullo
it's a matter to be proud of.
estar encabezando
To be heading
un proceso de transformación.
a process of transformation.
Entonces,
So therefore,
podría yo aquí
I could here say,
pasarme todo el día
spend the
señalando
whole
los
day
cambios.
signaling to you the changes.
Son muy importantes.
They're so
Tienen
important.
que ver con la
And they
libertad,
have to do with liberty,
de que no haya censura,
that there not be censorship,
de que
that there
no se le esté pidiendo
not
a
be
ningún
asking
director
a
de un
director
medio
from a media
que limite
that he limit
la libertad
the liberty
de manifestación
of
de un
manifestation
periodista,
of a newspaper person, a conductor of radio.
Yo recuerdo de un
I
conductor de
recall
radio
a conductor of radio,
muy bueno,
a very good one,
que no voy a mencionar su nombre,
that I'm not going to mention his
que
name,
hizo una entrevista,
that did an interview with me,
él entusiasmado,
and he was very enthusiastic
porque me estaba
because
entrevistando.
he was interviewing me,
Y
and
buen periodista.
he was a very good newspaper person, and I respect him very much.
Y entramos
And we
a la
entered
entrevista
to the interview,
y me empieza a preguntar
and he started asking me,
si era para una hora.
And it was supposed to be an hour interview.
Y termina la primera parte.
And the
Bueno,
first part ended, and so
entonces
we
la
said,
gente hablando por teléfono,
okay,
¿no?
so the people were
Y
calling
preguntando
and asking
cosas, ¿no?
questions.
Aquí en la ciudad, ¿eh?
Here in this city,
De México.
here in Mexico.
Y de repente,
And all of a
dice, bueno, pues
sudden,
vamos
as
a un corte.
so we went to this
Regresamos.
little court, and we returned. And so I'm standing there.
Y hace el corte porque
And,
recibe una llamada.
and so there's like a little commercial, and so he receives a call from the owners
Del director
or the director
de la radio.
from the radio company. So then
Lívido,
you could tell he was livid
apenadísimo,
and very embarrassed.
me dice, ya
He
no
says to
podemos,
me,
regresar.
I cannot return. We cannot go back on.
Me están dando la orden
They've given me the order
de que ya no
that I may not
continúe.
continue your interview.
Digo, ni te preocupes, lo
And I
hacen.
said, don't worry about it, and I hugged him.
Y yo me imagino que la gente que estaba escuchando
And I imagine the people that were listening to the interview wondered, what happened?
ya no regresé.
I didn't return.
Así era.
That's how it used to be.
Entonces, y no
So therefore, and no, it's not
culpa
because of his, the fault of the newspaper man.
los machuchones.
It was the higher ups.
Y mi pregunta, la primera pregunta sería, ¿qué va a pasar con el sistema de
So what's
interconexión
going
de
to
la
happen with the
CFE a la península de Baja
CFE with the
California? Había una
peninsula of
cessación,
California? Was
se
there an
interrumpió,
elicitation
y
and it
había
was
algunos
interrupted?
pronósticos de
And there was
problemas de
some kind of
abasto
predictions
en
about
las épocas de verano.
having
Sobre todo, además,
enough
se ha pensado en construir una desaladora
during
que
the
requeriría
winter,
también
summer,
una gran cantidad de
that
energía
would need
eléctrica.
a
No sé, esa
very
sería
a
mi primera
great
pregunta,
quantity
perdón,
of
y mi segunda
electric
pregunta, si
energy.
nos podría
And the
decir
next
metros
question
cuadrados
is,
tiene el
how many square
departamento
meters
que
does your
construyó
apartment have?
Calderón en el que va a vivir.
Con respecto a Baja
Related to
California,
Baja California,
efectivamente es un sistema aislado,
effectively it's an
no está interconectado
island
con
state,
el
which is
sistema
not, the system is not
que conocemos.
interconnected.
Pero
But
la tensión
the
de la
attention
demanda
or the demand
se está dando a
is
través
being given
de lo que hay de
via
generación
what's
local,
being locally generated,
lo que se
and
tiene de convenios
what has been
con las
convened
centrales
from the
generadoras
central
que hay
generators
instaladas en
that
nuestro
have been
territorio,
installed in our
pero que
territory
envían su generación
that
hacia
has
Estados Unidos,
the generated energy is going towards the United States, and
los
also
enlaces de
increasing
transmisión
the
entre lo que vienen
communications
siendo
between
las empresas que
the-
están del lado
the
de
companies
California
that are on the California
para
side
pasar más
in order to
energía
give more
cuando se
energy
requiera,
when they
sobre
require it,
todo en las condiciones de
especially in the
Por la
summertime conditions.
diferencias
Due
de
to the
latitud
difference of
en
latitude,
lo que es en la
when it
Baja
has to do with Baja
todavía
California,
no se dan las
they are still
temperaturas
not able to
máximas de
have the
verano,
maximum
y esas serán durante
summer
el mes
heat
de la segunda
temperature,
parte del
and that
mes
will
de
be the
julio
second
y agosto.
part of
Entonces,
July and August.
estamos preparados
So we are
para
prepared
hacerlo así.
for
El
doing
Centro
it that
Nacional de
way.
Control
The
de
Central
Energía lo ha
National
estado
Control of Energy,
vigilando,
we will
y
be
nosotros tenemos
vigil,
organizado
and we have organized
grupo
a
de
group
seguimiento de al
that
corto
follows
plazo de
the
todas
short
esas demandas,
phase
tanto de la
of
Baja
these
California
demands from Baja
como de la Baja
California
California Sur.
and Baja California Sur. Thank you.
El tema este,
Regarding this matter,
todo lo que es el abasto de energía
when it has to
es
do with
Baja
sufficient
California y el
energy,
sureste,
is
donde
Baja
estamos
California in the
dando
southeast,
atención
where we're giving energy to,
especial
special
para
energy,
resolver que no haya
monitoring, to resolve that there not be
que
shortages,
no falte la energía.
that they not
Acerca
have a
de
shortage of energy.
cuántos metros cuadrados
As
tiene el
to how
departamento,
many
lo
meters
vamos a
my
dar a
apartment
conocer la
is,
semana
we'll let you
próxima.
know next week.
Mandamos a hacer
We're doing
la
a
medición, no existía.
measuring. We didn't have the measurements.
Eh, no se había hecho el levantamiento.
So we didn't even know the size, or we don't know how many feet it is.
No
So,
aparece
so there's, it doesn't appear anywhere.
en el plano. del
There's
palacio.
no, it doesn't even appear in the plans of, or floor plans of the palace. So, so we're doing the
Yo
evaluation
creo
now.
que la semana próxima
So I
se
think
da a
next
conocer.
week we'll let you know all of that, how it's gonna wind up.
Presidente, buenos días, Michelle Mejía de Multimedios. Perdón que insista un poco en el tema de las arts. Entiendo que, bueno, por la investigación no se puede hablar mucho, pero nada más comentar si a
Regarding
raíz
that,
de este tema se van
that
a
matter,
reforzar las
are they going to
medidas de
reinforce
ingreso
the
aquí en nuestro
measures
país, porque
of
se tiene información de que estos
control
socios
in our
israelíes
country that
tenían
has to do with the
visas de
Israelis,
trabajo, es decir,
because they had
estaban
work visas.
legalmente
They were here
aquí.
legally,
Eso por una parte
for
se va a
on one
reforzar.
side. And are they going to
Y si
reinforce
ustedes,
that?
digamos,
And
no
are
estarían
you
como
going
en
to
alerta
be
ante,
on alert
digamos, una posible
regarding
instalación
a
del crimen
possible
organizado
an
aquí
installation of
a
organized
nivel
crime here
internacional? Esa
and on
sería mi
international
primera
level?
pregunta.
That's my
Y,
first
bueno,
question.
ahondando en este tema,
And
si
since
hay
we're
una
on that
posible
matter, is there
intervención de servicios
possible
de inteligencia de Israel de confirmarse,
intervention
México
from an
estaría en posición
intelligence
de
agency
reclamar
from
esa
Israel?
intervención.
And can we claim that, want that intervention?
Ningún
No, there
intervencionismo.
is no
Al
interventionism.
contrario,
On the
hay
contrary,
un trabajo
we are doing a
conjunto
job in conjunction
de cooperación.
of cooperation.
Hablé de la embajada,
I spoke of the embassy,
pero no tiene nada que ver
but it has nothing to do
acciones
with actions
de intervención,
of intervention,
de inteligencia
of intelligence,
o de policías
of police,
del gobierno de
of,
Israel en México.
regarding the
Es
government
la
of Israel in Mexico.
representación diplomática.
It's a
Y es muy
diplomatic
buena
representation, and it's very
la
good,
cooperación.
this cooperation.
En este caso y en
In
otros,
this case and in others,
eso lo puedo
I can
aclarar.
clear that
Acerca
up.
de
Regarding
si esto significa
if this
un
means
riesgo para
a
la
risk
seguridad
for the
nacional,
security, national
para la
security,
seguridad interior,
and interior
estamos
security,
trabajando
we're working.
tanto la Secretaría de la
The
Defensa,
Secretary of
Marina,
Defense, Marines,
Seguridad Pública,
Public
Gobernación.
Security, Government.
Hay una colaboración
There's a
conjunta.
collaboration,
Lo que era
conjunction.
antes,
That which was before was the CSEN, or the CIA,
tiene ese cargo,
has its job.
este
This is it,
asunto.
this
¿Hay
matter.
riesgo de que México se convierta en un centro de operaciones?
And is it
No.
possible that
No.
this will be
Se
converted
están
to a
tomando
center of
medidas,
operations?
eh,
No.
Pues las
The,
que se aconsejan en
that
estos
have
casos
been recommended in these
Pero-
cases,
no es algo
but it is not
alarmante.
something
Es
alarming.
un punto.
It's
Es un hecho que se
an
da,
act
que sí tiene vinculación
that has
con el crimen,
vinculation
organizado,
from organized
el
crime,
llamado crimen
or
organizado,
organized crime,
que no es,
that is
como se
not,
dijo al principio,
as it was in the
un
beginning,
asunto pasional o de robo.
a
No,
theft or anything like that.
hay antecedentes que demuestran que hay una vinculación
It's a
con
vinculation
organizaciones
um,
dedicadas a la
that are
delincuencia.
dedicated to delinquency.
Las medidas para
Will they reinforce
ingresar
the
legalmente a
measures?
nuestro país, porque ellos tenían visas.
Lo estamos haciendo.
Yes, we're doing that in all the
Y
cases,
está limpiando
and it's being
el
cleaned
gobierno en general.
in general.
Estaba
It used to be
muy mal
very bad.
todo lo que tiene que ver con el
Everything
servicio
that has to do with the service of migration,
y muy malo de aduanas,
and very bad in the entry, points of entry,
el control en puertos.
the control in the ports.
¿Por qué tanta violencia?
Why so much violence only?
Cosa de preguntarse.
That's a question to ask.
En Colima,
In Colima,
un estado
It was a state
que era muy tranquilo,
that was very tranquil,
muy tranquilo.
that was very
Vamos.
tranquil.
Creció mucho la actividad
And activity grew very
en el
much
propio Manzanillo.
in the town of Manzanillo.
Entonces, todo esto se está limpiando.
And all of this is being cleaned up,
En la aduana,
and
gente
we are
honorable,
doing
honesta,
an honest,
lo mismo en migración,
same thing with migration,
el tráfico de personas,
the trafficking of people.
pues se daba
It was given
porque
because, or done because
lo menos
the minimum
no se cumplía,
was not being complied with,
probablemente con la responsabilidad de los
with the
encargados de
responsibility
evitar
that we're supposed to be preventing these illicit
lo
acts
menos.
at the minimum.
Lo más grave
The worst
es
part
que existía
was that there
complicidad.
existed complicity.
Entonces,
So
estamos limpiando,
we're cleaning.
imagínense,
Imagine
en unos pocos
in a little bit of time,
días, semanas, ya
and I will,
se descubre
and then in a few days it was discovered
toda una empresa dedicada al transporte
and it was a company that was transporting in trailers immigrants or migrants.
una empresa
Just one company
que operaba
that operated
trasladando migrantes, 150
about
migrantes en una caja de
used to bring 150 migrants in one trailer,
pero no solo
but not only
una unidad,
one unit,
sino
but
5 o 6
5 or 6
unidades de una sola empresa.
in a certain
Entonces,
company.
todo eso
So all of
está,
that is being
atendiendo.
attended to.
Y
And
no
then,
solo es
not only that,
el que se trata de un ilícito,
is that
sino
it's an illicit
la protección de las
matter,
vidas,
but also the protection of lives of the people.
que es la preocupación mayor.
And that is my major preoccupation or worry. So we're cleaning it up. The government in its
De
conjunction,
arriba hacia abajo.
from the top to the bottom.
Vamos bien,
We are doing well
porque no se tolera
because we
la
cannot
corrupción
tolerate
de nadie.
the
Y la asociación delictuosa,
or association with delinquents or complicity.
vamos
We
pintando el
are
bien la raya,
painting the line
la
very
frontera
and
entre
the border
delincuencia.
between delinquency and authority.
No hay esa frontera,
If you don't have that
no se
frontier,
avanza.
you cannot advance.
Entonces, eso es lo que puedo
So that's
comentar.
what I can comment to you.
Una segunda
And
pregunta.
next
Esta
question.
semana
This
se
week,
dio a conocer que se
they
presentaron
let us know that
denuncias en contra
there
del
was
líder petrolero Romero
there was some
y
question about
horas después un juez
claims
le
against
otorgó
the
una
leader
suspensión
Romero de
para
Max
evitar
and
una orden de
then
aprehensión y
there
después
was
se dio a conocer en esta semana que también
that
una orden de aprehensión contra
there was an
la
order
madre
of
y
apprehension
también
of
una
the
suspensión
mother
para
of
evitar una
so
orden de aprehensión.
so they've been
¿De qué
forgiving.
serviría entonces
So
estar
what is it good for
presentando
to
estas
present
denuncias,
these demands
para,
or
digamos,
claims,
castigar en este
like
caso
to
actos de
castigate
corrupción, como usted
acts
lo
of
ha
corruption,
mencionado
like you
a lo
said,
largo de todos estos
um,
meses, si
as
al
all
final
these months?
entonces
But if
un
in the
juez
final
va a
a
detener el
judge
proceso y
will just
entonces
stop the
no se puede
process
cerrar este
and you
círculo
cannot
sin
Bueno,
close
hay
this
que,
circle.
también,
Yes, we also need to
aclarar que
clarify
deben haber suspensiones
that there might be suspensions
provisionales,
that are provisional,
pero
but
eso no significa
that does not mean
de que
that
va a haber
there will be
impunidad.
impunity.
Son juicios,
Their
son
judgments,
procedimientos, hay
procedures,
que acatarlos.
and we have to captivate them.
Tenemos que ser respetuosos
We
con
have to be
la legalidad y
respectful
del
to
derecho
the
de amparo,
legal
o sea,
rights to stays,
pero
but also
sin quedarnos callados.
without staying quiet.
Porque también antes
Because
se puede dar un
before
amparo
they would give
otorgar un amparo
a
y nadie
stay,
lo sabía.
and then nobody even knew.
Ahora no.
Not now.
Ahora, bueno, ustedes
Now
se
you
están planteando.
are
Y
letting me
aquí
know.
vamos a estar
And so
dando
here,
seguimiento
we're going to be
a
following
todos
up
estos
on
asuntos.
all these matters.
Entonces,
So
el
therefore,
Poder Judicial
the judicial power
tiene independencia,
has independence,
pero
but
no es una isla.
it's not an island.
¿Considera que están actuando bien estos
Do you
jueces?
think that these
Pues
judges are
hay,
acting right?
procedimientos legales
Well, there's legal procedures
que se tienen que
that have to
respetar.
be respected.
Ellos mismos
They themselves
tienen que
have to
trabajar con
work
apego a
with,
la ley, a los procedimientos.
staying close to the law and our
Sin
procedures.
embargo, tiene
But
que
on
haber
the other
justicia.
hand, they have to also have justice.
Y eso es lo que se les está pidiendo
And that's what we're
en el
asking
caso
in the case
de el Poder Judicial.
of the
De manera muy
judicial
respetuosa.
power in a very respectful way.
Tenemos una
We
comunicación
have a communication
con la Suprema Corte,
with the
con el
Supreme
presidente
Court
de la Corte,
and the President of the court
cuando hay casos
when there's
que
cases
consideramos
that we consider
no
not
flagelan
are not
Ah.
sticking
las normas
to the norms,
y que además
and that besides that,
significan
they mean
a todas luces
some lights that are being going off,
injusticias,
injustices,
se le informa
we inform them.
de toda la actuación de
Of
los jueces.
all the behavior of the
Okay.
judges,
Se molesten,
even if they get bothered,
vamos a seguir
we have to continue.
y pues no
And-
le hacen
And it doesn't matter
que cuando el
that when
solicite un amparo
they
contra
ask for a
nuestra,
stay and against us,
vamos a construir
that we're going to
una
construct
carretera
a road,
y lo otorguen,
and they try to hold it,
ni modo,
we have to hold
ni modo, así
it.
es.
We have to do it.
No por eso
Not because of that are we going to stay quiet.
no, en este caso no. Vamos a tener un acercamiento, digamos, un escrito por un amparo que se concedió.
They're going to be writing about somebody that got a stay that was
En
included
Oaxaca
in Oaxaca,
y la trasladaron
and they transferred her to
a Jalisco
Jalisco.
y no había justificación.
And there was no justification, or legally.
Ese tema de algo que
That
se
matter
ventiló
regarding
mucho
that
en
was
medios.
in the media a lot recently.
Consideramos que no era conveniente, que
And
no
we
era
don't think
correcto,
that it was proper,
porque la persona había cometido ilícitos
because the person had done illicit acts in Guadalajara, in Jalisco,
y se les regresó
and they returned her
a
to
Jalisco
Jalisco
por un amparo,
for a
una
stay
orden judicial.
by a judicial order.
Ahí respetuosamente
So there, respectfully,
expresamos nuestra
we expressed our inconformity.
inconformidad. Pero en estos casos
But in these cases, no.
es la Procuraduría, bueno,
It's
la
the
Fiscalía,
district attorney.
o sea, es un juicio,
It's a judgment.
no hay nada definitivo
There's nothing definitive
que se va a continuar.
that is going to be continued.
Pero
But
miren,
look,
yo no me preocupo
I am not preoccupied
porque
because
va a estar
it will be
muy difícil
very difficult
que
that
por corrupción, por
due to
influyentismo,
corruption or influentialism,
se deje de castigar
they stop from
a un delincuente.
castigating a delinquent.
Va a ser muy difícil para los
It will be very difficult for the judges,
para las autoridades.
for the authorities.
Ya hay un ambiente distinto.
It's a different environment.
Ya no se soporta
We don't tolerate it,
el que haya injusticias.
that there be injustices.
Y además,
And besides
no
that,
vamos a tolerar
we will not tolerate
ninguna
any
injusticia,
injustice,
ningún acto
any act
ilegal.
that is illegal.
Es más,
What's
no se
more,
acepta ni
we
siquiera
don't even accept
lo que
what is
se presume
presumed
es una inmoralidad.
as an immorality.
Esto que pasa a veces de
This
que
which happens sometimes
es legal,
that is legal,
pero no es moral.
but it's not moral.
Y tampoco legal. Pero
It's not
Este-
legal either.
ya no se acepta nada. Es cosa
Nothing can
nada
be
más, eso sí,
closed
de
regarding that.
todos estar pendientes y todos ayudar. Ya, y que no se ofenda a nadie. El pueblo
The people
tiene todo el
has
derecho
all the right
de pedir cuentas
to ask for
a las autoridades. O
the
sea,
authorities
el
to
pueblo
let them know what's happening.
tiene
The people have
el derecho
the
de
right to
pedir
ask
transparencia,
transparency,
tenernos
that we,
a todos los servidores
all
públicos
of the public servants,
para decirlo de manera
to
coloquial,
say it in a colloquial way,
lampareados.
be have a lamp on us, like a flashlight,
Que haya escrutinio
that there be scrutiny,
de la actuación
public, on your behaviors
de todos los servidores.
of all public servants.
Ya se acabó aquello de que no se podía
That
tocar al
ended that you
intocable.
couldn't touch the untouchable. But were they just? Because it seems that the judges are not in favor of the justice in our country. It is
Se hayan
possible
equivocado,
that they made a
o
mistake,
incluso
or possibly,
de que hayan
inclusively,
actuado
they may have acted
mal,
bad or badly.
pero el juicio
However,
continúa.
The judgment continues.
Se puede
And they can
ventilar y llegar
ventilate it and maybe go to Supreme Court.
a todas las instancias que puede
To all the
recurrir.
instances they can go
Lo
for
importante es que ya no hay un
important.
ambiente
There is not an,
de
what's important is
protección.
there's not an ambience of protection
Apotentados.
of
Se acaba el
people that are
influyentismo.
influential or in
Yo
power.
creo que
So
ha quedado
I
demostrado
think it's been demonstrated
de que ya
that no more,
no hay
there is no more
influyentismo de
influentialism
nadie.
from anybody.
Entonces,
So
también
therefore,
no
also,
olvidemos que es un
we
proceso
cannot forget that there is a
de
process
transición,
of
de
transition,
cambio,
of change,
lleva tiempo,
that takes
hay
time,
resistencia.
and there's resistances.
Hay quienes
There's
no
those
quieren entender.
that can't understand or don't want to
Les he mandado
understand.
ya telegramas,
That I've sent them telegrams.
avisándoles
I've advised
que
them
ya
that it is,
cambió la realidad
the reality has changed,
y no se dan por enterados.
and they cannot seem to understand.
Se nos ha enviado, digamos, a alcaldes municipales emanados de Morena o de la
A
parte
todos.
I've sent it to everybody,
Y gobernadores
governors,
y desde luego el presidente
and also the
de la
president
República
of the republic,
y los
and
servidores
of course
públicos,
the
todos.
public servants all
Tenemos que
have to
portarnos bien.
behave properly.
Ya cambió esto.
This has changed.
usted nos decía que
But you used to say that citizens
a los funcionarios.
will have,
Y hablo específicamente, bueno, primero que nada me presento, soy
as for the conduct,
de la abogada Sonora. He realizado un trabajo de investigación de
so
más de
there's an
5 meses
investigation in
de la
Sonora
alcaldesa de Navajo María
from the
Gutiérrez.
governor of,
Un expediente de más de una hoja.
there's a 1,700 page demand that has to do something with Navajoa,
En respuestas,
that are
denuncias en la
these
Fiscalía
demands
Anticorrupción En el
are
Ministerio Público
the-
ha habido amenazas contra
they have
periodistas, entre
had,
los cuales me incluyo, y
um,
hay denuncias
they've had,
presentadas, y las
what do you call it,
autoridades
when you
no
attack
hacen nada.
a
Hay
newspaper person,
elementos
including me,
suficientes
they've been threatened.
comprobados, y los
And there's
regidores
controlled
precisamente que han
areas,
presentado
and
estas
these
denuncias
people that have,
son regidores de
these-
Morena.
these people that have
Bueno,
presented
pues,
these
mire,
complaints are from Morena.
Yo creo que
So I
sí
believe
va a haber
that there will be
justicia.
justice.
Si existen
If there
los
exists
elementos de prueba,
proof or
estoy
evidence,
seguro que va a
I
haber
am
justicia.
sure there will be
Le voy a
justice.
decir por qué.
And I can
entre
tell you
otras cosas.
why, among
Primero,
other things. First,
Porque aquí
because
ya
here
se está ventilando
you've
este
already
asunto.
ventilated this
Y
matter.
segundo, porque le
And
tengo
second,
confianza
because I have confidence
la fiscal
in the fiscal
anticorrupción.
anti-corruption or
Que sería
attorney
bueno
of anti-corruption,
que le
then
solicitaras
it
una
would be
audiencia.
good for you to
Ya la
solicit
he
an audience.
solicitado.
I
Ya
have
solicité la
solicited,
audiencia y de hecho le voy a
and
dejar
I'm gonna let,
aquí con las
No,
personas.
pero
no, he
hay
says,
que ir a ver
you go see her.
Ya la fuimos a ver
I've already
personalmente.
seen her
a la
personally.
licenciada Mijangos.
No,
Mijangos?
perdón, yo me refiero al
No,
fiscal
I am
anticorrupción del
referring
estado de Sonora.
to
Estuvimos ahí
Sonora.
personalmente, pero si usted me da la indicación para
Yo-
But if
acudir
you give me
aquí
the
a la Fiscalía
indication
Anticorrupción de la República,
regarding
Sí,
anti-corruption,
claro.
procedo efectivamente a entregar un
De
expediente
acuerdo,
que tengo.
eso es lo
I will
mejor,
go give her
porque
the papers.
es
Yes, that's better.
una institución autónoma,
It's an autonomy situation that's dependent,
pero
but
es el derecho de audiencia.
it's the,
Si tú lo pides,
if you ask for it,
estoy seguro
I am
hoy
sure
mismo
today you will have an
que ella
audience.
te podría
She
recibir
will
y
receive you,
conocer
and you let her know
todas las pruebas
all the data, all the proof,
y
evidence,
ver si es de
and-
su
and
competencia,
see if
porque
that's
hablas
within
de
her
que la denuncia está en
realm,
Sonora,
and it's in
pero-
Sonora, but
ella puede ayudar
but she can help you,
y es una mujer
and she is a woman
Íntegra.
that is integral,
recta,
correct,
eso es.
and the right sense of right.
Las instituciones
The
funcionan
institutions
Sí.
function
los que
if
representan
the
las
representatives that represent the
Son gentes
institutions are
honestos
honest
y rectos.
and correct.
Aprovechando de su tiempo, voy a-
And taking advantage of your time, I'm gonna ask you one more question.
Los municipios del
In
sur
the
del
municipalities in the
estado
south of
de Sonora, que
Sonora
representan la población más
that
vulnerable,
represents
más
the most
pobre de-
vulnerable and
más
poor
pobre del estado,
of the
están
state
agobiados,
are
están
being
consumidos por las
consumed
deudas
by the
heredadas
debts
y no
that they
tienen
inherited,
capacidad
and they
ni
have
de
no
pago,
capacity
ni para
to
darnos a
pay,
los ciudadanos
not even to
servicios
give
públicos
public
municipales
services
dignos,
that are
porque el
dignified,
presupuesto, digamos,
because,
de
say, the
participación
budget
prácticamente
is-
les alcanza únicamente
is
para
only
gasto
enough
corriente
for
y
the
para lo más
general
elemental.
gas and the
¿Qué
most
programa
elemental.
podría usted
What
implementar
program
desde
can you
el gobierno de la
implement from the
República
government of the
para
republic
ayudar a que los municipios
in order to help the
puedan
municipalities
fortalecerse,
so
pero
that they
sobre
can
todo
strengthen themselves and
financieramente,
especially
puedan
financially
hacer-
so
puedan
that they
hacer un
can
mejor trabajo,
do a
porque
better
de verdad
job
estamos
because we
ahogados
are
en la
truly
pobreza. Son municipios
lost,
que básicamente
drowning in
dependen
the
de la
poverty
actividad primaria.
due to
Y
what they
no hay-
inherited.
no hay industria.
And there's no
Ahorita
industry
el campo, pues, ¿qué le voy a
in
decir, no?
the
Está por los
fields,
suelos.
it's on the
No hay precios de
ground.
garantías,
There's no
agricultores
price
paralizando las
guarantees,
carreteras,
and there's
paralizando carreteras en
agricultural
Sonora.
people are
Entonces,
paralyzing the streets.
desaparece la agricultura
So
y esos
agriculture
municipios
has
también
disappeared in
desaparecen
those areas,
económicamente, presidente.
and they've
Bueno, yo
had
le
a,
informo
so I will
que
inform
en
you
el caso de
that in the case
Navajoa,
of Navajoa,
como todo Sonora,
like all of
se está
Sonora,
apoyando
we are supporting
a
them,
los productores,
these producers,
a los pequeños
for the
productores.
small producers.
Puede haber
There may be
alguna inconformidad
some inconformity
porque
because
se le está dando preferencia
they're giving preference
a los
to the,
que tienen
that have
menos
less
superficie,
superficially,
ejidatarios y pequeños propietarios.
the small companies, and
Porque antes
because before
el subsidio, el
the
apoyo
subsidiaries and the support was giving
estaba más a los de
only
arriba.
on the top,
Entonces, eso está
so
cambiando,
that's
pero sí están
changing.
recibiendo
But they will be,
el
they are
apoyo
receiving
los
the
pequeños
support
productores.
for these small
Y en el
producers.
caso del precio de
And in the
garantía,
case
lo
of
mismo.
price guarantee, the same thing.
Ya
We now have
se fijó
a fixed
que para el
that
caso del
in
maíz
the case, say for example, of the
se
corn,
va a pagar
they are going
un
to
precio de
pay a
garantía
price that's guaranteed
de
of
5,600 pesos por
5,600
tonelada.
pesos per ton.
El año pasado
Last year,
pagaron
they were paying
3,000,
3,000,
3,500.
3,500,
Ahora
and now
5,600.
5,600.
Pero
But
la preferencia
the preference
en la compra
in the purchases
de este maíz
of this corn
es para
is for
los
the
pequeños
small
productores.
producers.
Empezamos así
We'll start that way
porque esto significa una
because
inversión
this means an investment
de miles de
of
millones de pesos
thousands of millions of
para
dollars
apoyo al campo.
in order to support the fields.
Cuando tengamos
And
más
then when we have
presupuesto,
enough budget or
entonces
more budget,
no va a ser
then it will not be just 20 acres and
para
down,
abajo. Puede ser
but it will be
de
maybe
30, de
from
40
30
hectáreas
and 40 hectares
hacia abajo,
down,
incluir a más
including more
productores
producers
con estos
in
apoyos.
these supports.
Lo mismo
The same
en todo lo que
in
son los programas
everything that
sociales.
has to do with social programs.
Yo le puedo decir que
I can
en
tell you
Navajo,
that Navajoa,
todos los adultos mayores
all older
Todos.
adults, elderly adults, all of them
ya están recibiendo
are now receiving
o están
and are getting
a punto de
uh,
recibir,
almost about to
ya
get
deben de estar
or are
cobrando el 90%
probably already charging about
de todos
90%.
los adultos mayores
Of all the
tienen
adults,
ya su
they
pensión
have
del
their
doble.
pension that's doubled.
Es decir,
That is to
2,500
say,
todos,
2,550,
casi. Permíteme.
almost all of them. I'm sorry. That is
Las personas con
the
discapacidad,
people with
niñas,
disabilities,
niños, en Navajo, lo mismo.
young children,
Ya están llegando
also
las becas.
the same thing. And we're
Entonces,
giving the
hay un programa.
grants. And there's
Entiendo
also
que
a
lo que tú
program.
planteas,
I know that what
también,
you're
por
asking
ejemplo,
is also, for
allá,
example,
en el
over
sur
there
de
in the
Sonora,
south of Sonora,
la presa Pilar
the press,
en Álamo.
the lake Pilares in Alamo.
Sí,
Yes.
había
It had,
quedado inconclusa.
it was
No
inconcluded.
tenía,
Oh
no
yes,
tenía
they stole the
presupuesto.
money. Yes, they had no budget. We
Aprovecho
authorized,
para decir,
and I'm gonna let you know now, taking the advantage to let you know that we
y
gave
se
the funds
destinaron recursos
to
para eso.
continue the job
Te voy a decir
or the
que-
work. So I'm gonna tell you another thing about Navajoa.
Entiendo que lo
I
que él me
understand
plantea
that what you are
es que las participaciones
saying
federales
is that the
vienen de
federal
muchos estados y que
participation
tienen que entregar
are
a los
being
municipios
delivered to
son muy
municipalities.
limitadas.
They're very limited,
y que hace falta
and that it is
que
needed
los municipios tengan
that
más
those
presupuesto.
municipalities
Ese es su
have the
planteamiento.
budget.
Sí.
Yes, that's what I'm
Porque
you're
están
saying.
ahogados en
Because
el-
they're drowning in
Eso-
debt.
Tiene que ver
Yes, that has
con
to
la
do
forma en que se transfieren
with
los
the
fondos.
way the funds are
La
transferred.
federación,
The
de
federal
acuerdo
uh,
a un convenio de
federation,
coordinación fiscal,
according to the fiscal
Recauda
convention,
el
recovers
impuesto sobre la renta,
the
el IVA,
taxes
toda
regarding
la
rent
recaudación.
and all the
No recaudan los
recoveries.
estados.
But they don't
Los
recover
municipios,
from the
pues solo
states and the
lo que tiene que ver con el
municipalities.
predial,
But it has
con
to
el
do
agua.
with the
Pero los
water.
impuestos,
But regarding the taxes,
desde los años 80,
since the 80s,
los recauda la
the
federación.
recovery
Y hay
is by the
por ley
federal
un
government.
sistema
And there's a system
de devolución
of
de
returns
estos impuestos
of these
a las entidades
taxes
federativas.
for the federal
Son
areas.
las llamadas participaciones
These are
federales.
federal participations.
Entonces,
So therefore,
a cada estado se le
each state
transfieren
gets a transfer of resources
de la tesorería de la
from the
federación.
treasurer of the federal treasury. And it is, each one is given what is got coming to them. So this year, this participation of the federal government have grown 5%
En términos reales,
in real terms
a los estados
for the states.
se entregan puntualmente
They are given punctually
a los estados.
to the
No hay
states.
atraso, entonces, en-
So, no, it is not behind for the,
No,
on the part of the federal government. Absolutely not.
al contrario,
On the contrary.
hay estados
There are
que
states
les hemos
which
adelantado
we've given advances,
las participaciones.
our
no es el caso de
participation.
Sonora.
This is not the case of
tengo la
Sonora.
información, pero no creo
I
que
don't
esté
have the
en eso.
information, but I don't
Eso,
believe that is
sí
the
hay
case.
otros estados
But
y
there are
que
some states
su situación
that their
económica, financiera,
economic
no
and
es
financial situation is
buena,
not good.
y para que no se
And
pare
so
el
that
gobierno,
the government
hemos
doesn't
hecho
stop.
esto,
We've
de
done this.
adelantar
We've forwarded the part of
de
the
las
participations
que por ley les
that by law
corresponde. Bueno,
are supposed to go
esas
to them.
participaciones
So these participations
tienen que llegar
that
también
need to
a los
also
municipios.
need to go to the
Un porcentaje
municipalities, a
de esas
percentage
participaciones.
of these
Entonces hay
participations.
que ver
So we need to see
si están llegando
if they are arriving,
esas
these
participaciones.
participations.
En general
But
llegan.
in general, they do
El
arrive.
problema es
The problem is
que
that
no alcanzan
sometimes there's not enough
ante las demandas
due to the
necesidades,
demands and the
y
needs.
se deben de
And they need to
administrar
administer
con austeridad
with austerity
y con honestidad,
and with honesty.
porque no es nada más
Because it's not
de
just
tener el presupuesto,
having the
es
budget, it's
cómo
how
se
to
aplica.
apply it.
Si llegan
If they get
participaciones
participations,
y, por ejemplo,
and for example,
hay casos,
there's cases,
no es que de Navajo,
it's not in Navajoa,
no tengo información,
I don't have information
pero
on
sí
that.
conozco
But I
casos
do know of
donde
cases
llegan
where
las
their
participaciones o el
participations come,
presupuesto de los
but the
gobiernos
budget
municipales
of the municipal
se
government
queda en el mismo
is
gobierno
staying in the
porque
same
hay
government
regidores que ganan
because there are
hasta 100,
leaders that are
120,000,
getting 120 or 150,000, and we're talking monthly
Mensual.
probably. Yeah, monthly.
y no solo eso,
And not only that,
sino para que
but they
firmen
they sign, in order to sign,
un
like
informe
some
financiero
financial
del
information
presidente o
from
de la
the
presidenta
president
de la
or the
autoridad,
authority,
piden
they ask
moche.
for a cut.
Se dan estas cosas.
And these
Entonces,
things
así no
happen.
alcanza.
So of course, that way there's not going to be no
Ningún
money.
presupuesto.
Of course, no budget would be enough.
Pero
But
esto es lo que tiene que ver
that's
con
what has to do
ojalá
with
todo esto sirva
transparency.
para que se
And
conozca
hopefully this
cómo
will
es
all make it to
que
be
se
known
distribuye
how
el
the
presupuesto.
funds
Pero
are being
voy a dar una
distributed.
buena noticia.
And I will give you some good news.
Hice el compromiso
I made the commitment
de que iba yo a convencer
that I was going to convince
a unos empresarios
a few businessmen
para que le dieran
in order that they give
pues una remozada
uh,
al parque de béisbol
a
de Navajo.
like to remodel
Y
the
ya logré eso,
park of
Porque
Navajo
un empresario
because a businessman
que le gusta el béisbol
that likes baseball
se comprometió a hacerlo.
committed to do it
Porque de todos los
because
estadios
of
de
all the
béisbol
stadiums of baseball
de la Liga del Pacífico
of the
de
League of
Navajo
Pacific in Navajo,
no estaba en buen estado.
it was not
Bueno,
in
nada
a
más.
good
Aprovecho
state of
para
affairs.
decirle,
And so I'm just letting you
Es
know, taking advantage that this is
algo
something.
es algo.
Something is something,
¿Sí?
right? I give information to all the beneficiaries that have this card of well-being, and I need to let you know that unfortunately that when we give you the card, or when they try to go get the delegation to notify the beneficiaries of the pensions, like the adults and disabled, that they have to wait 10 days or 20 days. And that time, of that time that happens, and it's still inactivated. So I want to know the reason why they're not activating the resources and why they're not activating the card. And also, I have to tell you that unfortunately, there exist beneficiaries that have 6 months and some even 3 that have not received any of their funds in their card of well-being. So that's what I wanted to mention. Yes, there is a delay when they give the card to the suspension of funds. There's a time because it's being monitored so that there not be corruption. So that's what's delaying it. But
No en todos los casos.
Not in all cases.
Por ejemplo,
For example,
yo, por
I-
eso ando.
that's why I go everywhere. I go through the
Me
country,
paran en la
and
carretera
everybody will stop me
para plantarme
to
ahí.
ask me
Me
something.
encuentro un
And
adulto mayor.
I find an older adult, and I ask him,
A ver,
okay,
ya te llegó
have you already gotten
el apoyo.
the support, the funds?
Y
And
si es un joven,
if it's a young person, I ask him, have you already got his grant?
estoy constantemente.
And so I'm constantly asking these things. And I also wanted to ask about the grants from higher level. Is there a case, or there is a case that's been published by the coordination, National Coordination of Grants, that from the student David Yepes, 11th of May, from Chihuahua, he still hasn't gotten the grant, and the other people in his salon, they had already received theirs. But there exist many cases in different states, and I have been following this in your conferences here, like when you go to the country, and you have said that grant is universal, and certain ones are excluded. Yes, in general it's being applied. There's about 3,500,000 in the case of the middle superior area. However, there is students that are inexplicable are not receiving their funds. So they get it in a school, all, and then maybe one or two don't get it. But we're looking at that. We're being helped. The parents, the same kids, the citizens, people like you, because that's what we are demanding or asking. Not demanding, asking. Cooperation, that you all help to push this elephant, that everyone help me to push this elephant so it can move forward. And we take away the rheumatoid, or the rheuma, which is rheumatism. It doesn't move. Overall, when it comes to the to make this elephant, this is what we do. This is what to end corruption, and that we end the lying, the deceiving, the simulation. Imagine what they used to do before. They used the name of the people, and the checks never arrived, or their funds never arrived, or they took a cut, like they poked their eye with. And so, no, that is not acceptable, and we are shortly, we're going to be handled it. And I had a meeting regarding that from the Cabinet of Well-being, and we are now about to finish the census, and we are going to put them up on a page, all of the census. And we're talking about around 18 million of beneficiaries. And there, all of us will be vigilant that this child with disabilities be receiving their funds, and that we can all be evaluated, supervise, go, check on them. Yeah, just go check. See, are they on the list? Are they getting their funds? Their pension? Is it true? Are you really getting it? asking if he could review the, some kind of bachelor's, that some particular schools that are working and they don't have to pay their monthly.
Tenemos eso.
Yes, we have
que
that problem
estamos resolviendo.
that we're resolving
Porque
because
estamos viendo
we are
los que
looking
estudian
at
en
those
escuelas
that
privadas,
study in private schools.
Se le dio preferencia
They gave
a
preference
los que
to those
estudian en
that
escuelas
studied
públicas.
in public
Pero
schools.
también, como tú
But
lo
also,
mencionas,
like you
hay
mentioned,
muchos
there's a lot of
jóvenes
youth
de familias humildes,
that are in
pobres,
humble families
que están en escuelas
that are in
privadas,
private
que
schools
pagan colegiatura
and they pay for college
y que
or
requieren también el
education.
apoyo.
And they require also the
Ahí
help.
vamos,
And so we're
poco a
going
poco.
little by
Estamos muy
little.
conscientes de
But
eso.
we're very conscious of that.
Y va a depender
And it's going to depend
pues, de la disponibilidad
on the
de
disposition
los recursos.
of the funds.
Pero vamos a ir ampliando.
But
y
we
ampliando
are
y
going to
ampliando. Pero
amplify.
lo importante es que ya tenemos el
What's
esquema
important
general,
is now we have the general scheme or schematic,
que es lo que yo menciono,
which is what I mentioned,
de establecer este
of
año las
establishing this year the basis
bases de la transformación
of the transformation
para que
in order that
en el porvenir
in the future
sea reforzar
it be reinforced,
lo que se inicie.
that it be initiated this year.
Ahí ya estamos
There's already,
muy cerca de
we're very
las
close
300,000
to the
becas
300,000 grants
para estudiantes de nivel
for
superior.
students of
300,000.
higher level
Es como si se hubiese
education.
creado
But it's like you had created
una escuela superior como la UNAM.
it's like a superior school like UNAM as to the number of
La
students.
UNAM tiene como 300,000.
Like UNAM has like 300,000.
300,000 jóvenes
So
pobres
300 poor people
de nivel superior
of higher level
están
education
recibiendo
are
una
now
beca de
receiving a grant
2,400
of
pesos
2,400 pesos a month.
mensuales. Pero no
But
son todos.
that's not all of them.
Queremos
So
que no sean
there,
300,000.
we don't want there to be
Queremos
300,000.
aumentar eso
We want to increase that number
de beneficios.
of beneficiaries. So I have the last information. I couldn't hear what he said.
Son como 200.
The last information I have is there's 285,000 that are now given of the 300.
El último informe
Well, the
más
last
cercano,
information that was more recent
fue el día
was
primero
on the 1st
de julio.
of July.
Ah,
Oh, yeah.
¿queremos un informe?
You want us to give
Ah,
information?
sí,
Yes?
sí.
Okay. Like what I've been mentioning about the delivery. Yes, we can do that.
Porque el primero de
Because
julio
first, on the 1st of July, yeah, because they've been going to the secretary of, and they want to give information and data and to see what the advances are. And I've asked doors and knocked on doors in the north where there's coordinators, and unfortunately, the treatment is not so dignified. I have to say, this is part, because they give a lot of difficulties so that you can give the information that you need, so that you can give it to the beneficiary company. Yes, unfortunately, we do have this problem with communication. So in the Sótano, in case of the grants, I talked about 270,000 on the 1st of July. And that's why I speak, because yesterday, if I recall correctly, there was 285. And it is increasing. We're almost at the 300,000 in the case of the university level. But we're going to inform, and I will give you information ahead that legally, on the 1st of September, and it's an information with all the data of all the programs.
no vamos a
No, we
hacerlo como
are not
establece
going to
la ley
do it that way. We're gonna have to waive the law
y
permits
vamos a
and give the
aplicar
information, and we're going to invite
aquí,
here,
como hicimos el primer
like we
informe,
did the first data information in the patio.
asistir
If you want to
con
go,
ustedes
and how with
para
you guys,
difundir.
so we can let everybody know, so everybody can.
Muy bien, muchas gracias.
Okay, good day. All right, you guys, I'm logging out, cause this has been too long. Anyway, they're starting to keep talking. I'm trying to get out of here, guys. Anyway, whatever, I'm not gonna stay and answer.